Would help if I put myself on stage. There we go. God, really is pantomime atmosphere, isn't it? Hello, hello, boys and girls. Here we are once again. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Reform UK Pantomime, because wow, it has been not a quiet week on the Reform UK Council front, as always. Honestly, since May, it has been genuinely, um, non-stop, constantly, all the time. I keep on telling you this in every single video, but it is true. And for everything that we do report, bear in mind, for everything that we do report and we do talk about of this sheer like incompetence and all this other stuff going on in these councils, there's other stuff that just does not get reported or get talked about either. Which is again why I am, as always, if you happen to know someone who is a county councillor, parish councillor, etc., and they are one of these, reform controlled councils, I am more than willing to give them a platform, tell them just what is going on. We've had some fantastic people on this year. And like I say, I want to take that chance again to thank those people who've been on this year. They've been really, really good interviews. I think a lot of people have gotten, I think, a lot out of it. Like I say, from the comments, and realized a lot of stuff, and particularly the damage that these people are going to do in office, which is partly why I've done this for since May. I'm really sort of really taking the message to heart that what goes on in Westminster is important, but also what is just as important is what goes on in your local town hall as well, or your local county council, because there is such political disengagement, that goes on with people. If you think people don't know who their MPs are, you should try asking people what their local who their local councillor is. That is a that is a real doozy of a question. Most people would not know if asked. So, however, we are, of course, going to go on today to see some spectacles ongoing at the moment on some of these councils. So we're going to have a tune in to see what was going on recently, because Warwickshire, pretty much all the councils have had their last council meeting this week. So we're going to check out what's been going on in Warwickshire recently on their council. I saw Councillor Conditor commenting on what a pantomime it was going to be. So we're going to dive into that and have a look on that. And then, of course, if we do get the chance, I do want to have a look at Kent as well, because apparently their last full council meeting of the year, pretty interesting as well. So, Billy, good evening to you. And like I say, good evening to everyone in chat. Say hellos, etc. Don't be shy. Any questions at all about what we're viewing, about what's going on, I'll be more than happy to try and help you and navigate you as we go through, once again, the weird and wonderful world of local politics. And of course, this is Warwickshire County Council. And I found this so weird. I can guarantee you there is probably a reason why this happened. Because originally, Warwickshire Council had, like many of the councils, used to do it straight to YouTube. Did it all straight to YouTube, no problem. Warwickshire, for some reason, 4 years ago, decided to stop that, and now has its own system. I don't know what the reason for that decision was, but okay. Anyway, so here we are today, and we're probably going to do some bit skipping around on this. So we're going to start off with the start of this. There's a petition going on. There's a thing about public speaking that I'll be interested to have a look at. The external auditor's annual report of 2024-25. Maybe we'll dip our toes into that to see how that goes. But the one I do want to watch is where is it here? Part 10, the Warwickshire Community Safety Agreement for 2025-2029. that might be interesting. And then right at the end, there was the exclusion of press and public, which looks like that got interesting before the meeting ended. So that'll be interesting. Yes, we are actually live. We aren't premiering. Although I have realized it is 6 o'clock, so there will be a premiere of one of my videos going out now. So if you happen to want to watch, I think it's about the ongoing chaos once again at Kent County Council. Honestly, down there has never stopped since it started. We might have a quick look back there in a couple of minutes. But as always, like I say, hop on in and we'll have a look what's going on Warwickshire County Council, as always. So I'm sure it's going to be fun. And of course, this is the worst part. Your own system is now just terrible. Anyway, we will bump it up just a bit, I believe. There we go. So it's just a little bit faster. Like I say, as you can tell, the full thing is 6 hours. We aren't going to be here for the next 6 hours watching this, but we are, of course, going to jump out. So without further ado, let's get cracking on into this.
And very festive welcome to everybody. This is the last full council of the year, and that we have planned. And we have a very packed programme today. And shall I make the announcement? It is very good to see Councillor Jerry Roothouse with us today. Here.
If you beg my indulgence for just 2 minutes, Mr. Chairman, can I thank you very much for that. As you know, it's been a challenging time and it isn't over yet until January, February, when I go back to see the consultants and further treatments as I go through Christmas. I do have to say that I have to place on record also my thanks to members for all the kind words that they mentioned in that special meeting which was held here, which I wasn't at. In fact, I was sat in a chair with needles and stuff all in my arms, having for about another 3-4 hours to wait. I have to tell you that the nurses in the Maple unit at St Cross are now more wiser about how the county council works and what fun you all have in the council chamber, as they looked on quite surprised. What the hell is going on there at that time? But can I thank you very much, and can I thank everybody for the kind words and the wishes that were passed on, and I look forward to the fight later on this morning.
Setting up what's coming, I suspect, there with that comment.
Right, let's get on with the fight, shall we? Right, it's the full council meeting on 16th of December 2025. The proposed order of business for the chair is going to start with our general welcomes and apologies for absence. I have Councillor Stuart Green and Councillor Luke Shingler. Do we have any others? Thank you. With members' disclosures of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests, I will note that that the meeting will consider the pension fund accounts later in the agenda, but it's not necessary for members to declare their pension interests for that item, as there is a dispensation in place for that. So are there any other members' disclosures of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests? Councillor Wayne.
Thank you, Chairman. Possibly unnecessary, but I should declare that I am a governor of one of the schools which are being considered on in a later item of the agenda for capital funding.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Any others? No, we'll move on.
God, this is true British politics.
Previous meetings, there are no matters arising on those.
Are there any, all the meeting and agenda?
Are there any issues with those? Can we sign those straight away? Yeah.
So these are the meetings of the previous minutes.
Thank you. We'll do that. Thank you. Right. I'm going to keep the announcements to an absolute minimum this time because we've got such a packed agenda. Unless you'd like me to go through anything in particular, I think we should move straight to the next item, which is the petitions.
Ooh, petitions.
We have received 3 petitions for presentation at today's full council meeting. The first petition is for the footpath for Bilton Lane to ensure safe travel for children to and from school. And I would like to invite Rugby Borough Councillor Simon Ward to speak in support of the petition. Councillor, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to your meeting to present my petition for a footpath for Bilton Lane in Rugby, a petition that has received 1,080 signatures, which clearly shows the strength of local feeling around this issue and the concerns. For those I haven't met previously, and I've already been introduced, my name is Simon Ward, I'm a Borough Councillor, I'll skip all that. So I'm a Borough Councillor for Woolston and the Lawfords Ward in Rugby. I've lived in Long Lawford itself for 19 years with my wife and children. We moved into what I call the first phase of the village, and we've since had 6 phases. We're now on the 6th phase, I say, of significant development in the village. The population has gone from just over 2,800 residents to nearly 5,000 and continuing to rise with the latest development. The village primary school has gone from
There is a
one
lack
class
of fighting
a year to 3
true
classes per
British
year,
politics.
with
Where's the
significant
guy
extensions
calling
in
for
that
order?
time.
Oh, don't
So
worry.
Bilton High is the designated secondary school for the village.
Do not worry, my
The supposed
friend.
safe walking cycle.
A lot of people miss out on the fact, as I've said many, many times before, you've seen the drama going on in Westminster. There is more drama and more local continuing Coronation Street type drama that goes on in your local council chambers than goes on in Westminster. You ain't seen anything yet. You know, if this goes how I hope it goes later on, we are in for a right drubbing of a session maybe later on, especially if we go see what's been going on down in Kent in the not too distant in the moment after this as well. Oh.
The research I've done found that approximately 100 cars in those 10 minutes pass. And so you're talking a child walking, that's 100 cars passing a child walking, or if a child cycling, I would say approximately 50 cars. By the way, when myself and a local resident, we were doing some research on the lane, we were wearing high-vis jackets and we nearly got hit as well when we were walking along. Obviously, you couldn't miss us. So children have always walked and cycled along Bilton Lane, and it's so important.
Second petition at this point, and it's for Ettington Staggered Junction. And I would like to invite Mr. James
Staggered Junction
to speak in support of the petition.
James, what joy!
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Again,
just
campaigning
with the petition for a staggered.
And
so what's the petition here?
We have a third petition. It is the road safety at Kenilworth Gate, and I would like to invite Dr. Rocco Copyhouse. Thank you.
Road safety.
To get the names up, yeah. To speak in support of the petition. 5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much for the invitation. The Kenilworth Gates new development is located between the town of Kenilworth and the A46 road, and specifically it is adjacent to the Leamington Road. The new development consists of 98.
Public, this is about
Timeline?
public speaking.
Unfortunately, and so without any further public speaking on the agenda, we're going to move to the item 2 on the order of business for today, and that's the external auditors annual audit report 2024-2025.
There was no public
page
questions
57
in the local
of
council here
your
at the time,
pack.
which surprised me, to be honest.
I'm going
That's
to
surprising.
invite Councillor Stephen Shaw to present the report. Councillor Shaw, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The external audit annual report is a statutory requirement under the new National Audit Officers Code and audit practice that has been prepared by our auditors, Grant Thornton. It provides commentary on the council's arrangements for securing value for money alongside the audit opinion of the council's accounts.
There's key.
The report communicates key issues arising from auditors' work that have been brought to the attention of the council and the stakeholders. The report covers both the County Council and the Warwickshire Pension Fund and summarises all work completed as part of the 2024-2025 audit review and the value for money programme. The external auditor is not in attendance today. They've already presented their report to our Audit Standards Committee on the 25th of November and have provided a written statement which sets out their assessments of the value for money and categorised the council as a green across financial sustainability.
By the way, you can see there George Finch, the youngest council leader in the UK. Not, shall we say, a stellar record, to be honest, so far.
Dedicated schools grant to the
Coming up to
SG.
his first
The
year,
council should
3
continue
months'
delivering
time.
planned mitigations and maintain current governance arrangements for monitoring and reporting the deficit. And due to the immediate impact on cash flow, enhanced cash flow and treasury monitoring, it should remain in place. So the council is asked to consider the external auditor's annual report in Appendix 1 and request the Audit and Standards Committee monitor delivery of the management actions in response to the key recommendation over the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, I'd like to second that, Mr. Chairman. Could I draw members' attention to page 65 of the report, which shows that the council has achieved a triple green assessment across the board in the auditor's summary of value for money arrangements. I'm particularly pleased to note that that includes the governance arrangements that are within my own portfolio. And I think members would agree that this represents a very positive and independent reflection on how well the council is being run. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think other people would disagree on how well Warwickshire Council's being run under this administration. That's for sure.
Councillor Bannister, we've noted that you didn't reserve any comments there. So, yeah. Okay. And are there any amendments? Councillor Warwick. Jonathan, I believe you were first. Jonathan Childers.
Thanks, Chair, and happy Christmas, everyone. The audit landscape for local authorities is been incredibly difficult over recent years, and so I'm really just standing up to say, I mean, congratulations to all the staff involved on just a fantastic report. As I say, having that clarity about where our finances are and being able to get that external assurance is really, really important. So I just want to say thank you to all the officers who and staff who've been involved in delivering an outstanding report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Childers. That was great. Yes. Councillor Warwick, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. And can I extend my welcome back to the father of the chamber, Councillor Roodhouse. Nice to see you with us today, Jerry. And I noticed you pointing and smiling when I indicated my right to speak, because he knows what I'm going to say. Thank you very much, Councillor Bannister. I will take those thanks back to Peter Butlin, the portfolio holder at the time this report covers, because, of course, it was a Conservative administration up to the 31st of March last year, and it was a Conservative administration that is responsible for this glowing report. And I'm pleased that you recognise that.
So here we have yet another example, another classic reform move, by the way, of taking credit for the previous administration's work. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised once again when this keeps on happening. But hey, some of these councils, they're now running out. Next year, the rubber meets the road. They are running out of things to claim at this point. And there will come points where they have to make decisions. So far from what we have seen, they have put off making decisions. They have avoided making difficult decisions as much as possibly they can. However, that cannot go on forever. If you have a 4-year term, you cannot continue that at all. Not only to mention, as we've said, budget time as well next year, kicking off. Most of these councils, these reform control councils, all said, we're going to cut our council tax. We're going to cut council tax. What's happened? If you live in one of these reform areas, your council tax is going up the full, 5%, unless, of course, you live in Worcestershire, where they've asked for special dispensation to put it up 10%. So, yeah, enjoy. Enjoy with that and all that chaos that has been brought forward on here.
And I'd like to extend my thanks, obviously, to the auditors and to Rob, Perminder, and to Andrew for the team that in finance for the hard work that they put in. But please remember, this is a Conservative administration that delivered this report, and we look forward with interest to the report next year. Thank you very much, Chair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that will be very different. That will be very, very different. That's for sure. Yeah, this will probably be the last time they can claim a lot of credit as well. This is really going to be the last time they can claim a lot of credit for some of these initiatives, for some of these things that they've done and they've commissioned. Remember, up in Durham, there's a governance report which talked about the handover from the previous Labour administration to the Reform administration, which so far they have covered up. They are not releasing that report until January of next year. So who knows what that is going to be saying about that. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting time. Expect a lot of shenanigans, maybe heavily edited segments from that from that report. Could be interesting. Could be very interesting indeed if when that all happens.
And look, we'll keep the shouting out to a minimum. Councillors, please.
Point of order, Chair. Can you remind the leader, please, to remain respectful in the chamber? Thank you.
I already had done, as you mentioned that at the time, Councillor Jones. But thank
you. We missed that. Yeah, to the person saying, "Where's the lack of fighting?" Yeah, George Finch there, poo-pooing the Conservative councillor speaker there, and of course the chair not doing his job because he is a Reform UK appointee, by the way. So it's up to another councillor to call out for a point of order about the conduct of the leader of this council. And who says local politics is not fun? Who says local politics is not fun to watch?
Thank you for reminding us. Yeah. The Councillor Barker, please.
I would just like to reiterate what Councillor Warwick has said. Yeah, it was a Conservative administration that achieved this, and I would just go a little bit further and say that when on Audit and Standards we met Grant Thornton, we were in the top 5 councils in the country for the assurance that was given of what was happening. So thank you to the staff particularly for that. But yeah, I would reiterate it was a Conservative administration, and I too am looking forward to seeing what the numbers look like next year.
Thank you, Councillor Barker. Councillor Condicourt, I believe you're next.
Good morning, everyone. I've been involved in looking at council's accounts for probably about 15, 20 years, and auditors' reports are very much backward-looking statements. It's like looking in your rearview mirror to see if you're going in a straight line. So you don't look in your rearview mirror to know if you're going to crash or not, or whether you're driving over a porcupine at the moment. It is a backward-looking report. So I hope Councillor Bannister understands that this is not a report as to how well things are managed at the moment. It's a report about how well we've got to this point. The other thing to mention is things that haven't yet finished aren't yet fully accounted for. So we've got projects that were started by the previous administration that haven't yet been finished, and yet because they've not been finished, do not have value for money as to how well they've went. So some of the things that Peter Butling may have started haven't actually been finished yet. So I don't think we can give him credit for things that have gone well or bad if they're not yet finished. And we'll be talking about some of those, I'm sure, later on. But the other thing is these audit reports have materiality about them. So the auditors are looking at really big items and making sure the accounts are accurate on the big items, but it's not all the day-to-day. A clean bill from the auditors just says we've got the big stuff right, and I think something like 0.5% is their materiality. If you look at 0.5% on 600 million, it's about 3 million. So yeah, they're looking and making sure that our officers are doing a good job. They're not minutely testing every invoice and everything like someone might do, doing a proper deep dive. So I'm really pleased our auditors and our accounts departments are really good and everything adds up. I got some wariness about voting for this because obviously the stuff I'm not happy with, but it's a tribute to the people in the past where we got to this point, not where we are now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Condicourt.
Yeah, Councillor Condicourt there quite rightly pointing out, once again, as a lot of these Conservatives have been pointing out, you've seen speak on here. Yeah, that wasn't what you've got now. Most of it hasn't been reformed. It will be next year where we really start to see all the reports from reform. It will be next year about all that. Yeah, it's a pantomime party. It is. But yeah, apparently the fun stuff starts later. Yeah. Oh, none of that's here. None of that's here. Oh yes, it is. But yes, back to this. But yeah, this continues for the entire trend we've been following so far this year. Once again, reform administrations taking credit for stuff that they had nothing to do with and say, we did that. No, you didn't. You never started that. You never started that at all. You weren't even in charge of that. We've just done a piece today about 3 reform councillors in Durham. They cancelled speed bumps out of nowhere with no public consultation. Just apparently people were telling them that they didn't want speed bumps. Not any evidence that the people were telling them that there was that. There was no public consultation. You know, so yeah, that will be very interesting. So watch out for the video tomorrow if you want to find more about that. Yeah, as the councillor said, it's behind you. Very, very true. Oh, I missed that one, Billy. Good catch. We need to get more. We need to be more panto focused today. See, this is where I should have had a puppet. I should have had a puppet. Anyway, let's crack.
Councillor Crump, please.
Thank you, Chair. I do apologise. My colleagues is festering the microphone with some apologies for that. Yeah, it's. I was going to say, it's a really positive report until Councillor Condicourt did his impression of the Grinch. I certainly think we should be thanking the staff who've done this, and I think there's an element of envy and jealousy about this report. this is something we should be shouting about. I'm sure if many other councils, both locally and nationally, had the similar report, they would be shouting them out. But sometimes they're conspicuous by their absence. So I'd just like to say well done to all involved. I don't necessarily agree with the comments about value for money because ongoing items are still assessed. Yeah, I slightly disagree with that. But just like to say well done to our staff from Councillor Crump, who's not being the Grinch today. So thank you.
Thank you very much,
that
Councillor.
was- yeah.
That's,
Good use of his second
I
name.
think that's everybody. So I'm going to
give
be
him
inviting Councillor Shaw to move the motion. No, move the recommendation, sorry.
Yeah, approve to move the motion.
And we shall go to the vote, please. All in favour? Against? Any abstain? Was that against? Sorry, I didn't see that. Yes, thank you. And any abstentions? None. So the recommendation is passed. We'll be moving to item 3 on the order. Item 3 on the order is the Warwickshire County Council's statement of accounts on page 95 of your pack, and it relates to 24-25 again. Again, I'm going to try and limit speeches to 5 minutes and keep everything brief. I'm going to invite Councillor Stephen Shaw, please, to move the recommendation as circulated.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll be a couple of minutes anyway.
So yeah, this is yet another
So, the council's been asked to approve
2024-25.
the Warwickshire
Remember, the
pension fund statement
Conservatives
for
were in
accounts
charge.
24-25.
Or at least the previous
The pension fund is
administration
part of the
were in
National Local
charge.
Government Pension Scheme and is legally separated. Sorry, I'm moving on.
Excuse me, Councillor Shaw.
Could
Could we do number 3?
Skipped ahead.
Please, you've got ahead of yourself.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, sorry back, I'll just start again. So the council has been asked to approve the 24-25 statement of accounts for Warwickshire County Council. So the council present the true and fair view of the council's income, expenditure and assets and liabilities for 24-25.
And in true panto fashion, it wouldn't be a pantomime if someone forgot their lines. So, and of course, it is someone from Reform UK. So I'm more than happy to put the boot in with buttons here.
And it's also to explain how much is spent, how it's funded, and how we own and owe from the 31st of March 2025. The draft accounts went to an audit and standards committee on the 25th of November 2025, and they raised no issues to the council and recommended approval. Once council approves, the accounts will be published with the final audit opinion inserted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shaw. May I have a seconder, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I second this motion and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howard. We're going to take any proposed amendments at this point. I believe there are. There is a group procedural motion.
Exactly.
Is that correct? No, there's no procedural motion there. Any amendments? Amendments, Keith? No. Okay, well, in the absence of an amendment or any procedural motion that was shortly to occur. No, there wasn't any, Sarah. No, okay. Then we'll go straight into the debate. Keith Condicle, please.
Thank you, Chair. Like the previous item, accounts can't cover every minute detail, but on page 173, it does mention A46 Stoneleigh Bridge project as having £13.9 million still to spend on it. Obviously, we can't talk about this because obviously there are things going on to get that project finished, but I do think the account should have an asterisk or something to sort of just point out that there is ongoing work and this isn't necessarily accurate. So I don't know how we in accounts actually flag that, but I don't want it to look like it's a known figure when it actually is an unknown figure, if you get my gist. I'm trying not to say things I'm not allowed to say, but there is uncertainty over the figure, and that needs to be reflected, I think, in the accounts. And also, it's actually an asset that we don't actually own. It's Highways England. So I think maybe a paragraph explaining how all these things work, where we spend a lot of money on something we don't own in the accounts, because we're not actually adding value to what we don't own. Bermuda Bridge was a waste of money, but at least we own Bermuda Bridge, so we made something with our 16 million. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Condicle. Councillor Warwick, please.
Thank you, Chair. These are independently inspected accounts in the same way that we had independently audited statements before. So take on board, you want to make comments, Councillor Condicore, but these accounts are inspected externally and they are excellent. And they are excellent again because to the point these were adopted, it was a Conservative administration running this council.
No, it's the really hammering that
the
home.
books are as they were because of the work that was put in by our group. I see Councillor Finch is going to speak after me, as long as he's not going to be the Finch that stole Chris.
Yeah. Oh, no, it wasn't, said Reform UK. Oh, yes, it is. Say the Conservatives.
Christmas, we'll be all right, won't we?
Oh, the Finch that stole Christmas. Oh.
So again, congratulations to our excellent finance team for keeping an eye on books. Yes, we've got the statutory override that we've all got to keep an eye on, and it's going to be a problem moving forward, but we're aware of that. There's very little that we can do because we've got to deliver and must deliver our statutory obligations. So Congratulations to the finance team. Congratulations to our former portfolio holder, Pete Butland, for the work on this. And we hope in 12 months' time, the books look just as good as this, because we'll also need to say,
speech.
George,
Let's see what he's got to say about this. No doubt.
Thank you,
he'll be
Councillor Warwick.
crowing,
And Councillor Finch, please.
Yes, thank you all, and Merry Christmas
his
to all. I just want to remind the Conservatives that they did go from 42 councillors to 9 overnight, and I doubt you'll see any more councillors being gained in the next few years. So
oh, just dig at the Conservatives. Bear in mind how bad, like, their reception has been. Bear in mind how bad their performance has been received in a lot of these councils. Bear in mind how some of their by-elections have gone. True, they have won some of these by-elections where they've lost councillors, but they haven't won them all. And the ones that they did win, they weren't, you know, the massive majorities that they had previously in May. They were very, very much eaten into by other parties. I don't think Finch should be crowing about that too much, to be honest, on those accounts.
So just want to remind you that the people in Warwickshire did reject the Conservatives in a flamboyant style, which is why we have 22 Reform councillors. But I just wanted to remind you that. Thank you.
We'll
oh, what was wait a minute, was that it? Was that his entire speech to try and remind people that they are trying to basically take credit for a Conservative audit that they commissioned and took place, especially for when they're in charge? And now he's just gone in and just laid into them and just said, well, remember, they rejected you all. You were all failures. We've done a success. But no, that a vast majority of these accounts that they looked for, remember, this is 2024 to 2025. Reform UK is still a relatively new administration. Next year accounts, this time next year in 2026, that is when we get to see how Reform UK is really done on these accounts. That's where we get to see the real stuff on a lot of this. They can't blame or take credit for the previous administration then, especially bear in mind when you are seeing this situation here, where it is basically come across that, yeah, you might disagree with the Conservatives and their policies, etc. But from what we can hear here, the audit came back pretty good. And that was their achievement. And yet here you have George Finch trying to desperately say that that wasn't your achievement, that was his. How dare you try to reclaim an achievement he is already trying to steal? Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense on that one, but okay, sure, go for it. Maybe he really is the Finch who stole Christmas, as was said.
We'll keep to the business, please, and we'll keep our annotated remarks separately if we can, please.
Thank you, Chair. Am I on? Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Finch.
Oh. Thank you very much. Yeah, if I was a Tory councillor, I would. You could have said I would Finch with. I would finish with, "We are taking over your party, you naughty, naughty children." True. Why not? Yeah, why not, Billy? Why not call out the fact that Reform is basically stacked full of like former Tory councillors? Most of them are like the failed Tory councillors, they're stacked full of like the failures of the Tory party. Really should fill people with confidence. That. But anyway, let's see, of course, what this then now response is to Finch and the statements on that.
Sure. Reminding all of us that he cares more about campaigning than he does governing. But, it's not my fault you keep sending up in the papers. But what I do want to point out is what Councillor Warwick mentioned.
Yeah. Again, good dig. Councillor Sam Jones, good dig at at Finch there. But no, that is very true. Finch constantly is just campaigning. He's not good at governing because he's 90. Well, sorry, no, is he still 19 or is he 18 now? I can't remember. I know he had a birthday recently. But yeah, it's still one of the youngest people in control of a council who's never had any experience in this type of stuff. But Reform put him in charge anyway, but, you know, apparently Nigel Farage's protege, if people aren't aware of that. Apparently Nigel Farage considers him to be his protege. That's why he's been getting a lot of attention that I think Darren Grimes wishes that he was getting from Nigel Farage on that front.
Which is to draw attention to the statutory override and our SEND deficits, which stands at, I believe, around about £150 million at the moment and looks to be approaching. Yes, next year.
We're calling out in the chamber, please, Councillor.
Next year it will be £150 million, and by the time when the government starts taking over the SEND deficit, we expect it to approach £300 million. And there is a point where we are expecting to start having to go to external financing, borrowing, to start funding our revenue costs to support that. And of course, the funding that we are having to, the cash that we are having to put towards the SEND deficit is something that is resulting in us not being able to invest that capital to get returns worth, I think, in the region of £7 or £8 million every single year that we lose out on because that money is spent instead of invested. So I just want to remind the chamber, I suppose, that we all have to pull together and make sure that we are putting our resources towards pressuring the government to find a stopgap for that SEND deficit, which is the largest financial risk to our council. And we should all have our eyes very much wide open on that front.
Yeah, it's not just Warwickshire. Again, the two biggest spends for your local council, two biggest pressure points, SEND, that's special needs and disability education, and of course, adult social care. Biggest spends you will have, biggest problems at local councils at the moment, has been for a number of years now, are these two problems. One, because we've got an aging population, more people need adult social care more than ever before. And of course, SEND has ballooned very, very much so since the pandemic. I mean, who could have seen that coming? Oh, that's right. Every single education expert saw that coming. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, Nigel not giving his troop much to work with. Yeah, very true. Considering, again, Nigel Farage has been completely absent without leave since all this, not just the Nathan Gill stuff, but the racism stuff that's been coming out that he's been caught up with. He's been completely AWOL. In fact, he boycotted again, because I think this must be like the third, fourth time that he's done this now. He's boycotted PMQs. So instead of sitting in the chamber, he's instead sat in the public gallery. Okay, you do you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. And please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sometimes I prefer quality to quantity. So, but back on the matter of the substantive motion and debate, which we sometimes have slightly deviated from, I'd just like to ask the portfolio holder about the preparedness of these accounts. I assume they are done to the code of practice and to the CIFA code of practice and to fill in accounting standards and been audited by external auditors in the prescribed format. So it's very difficult to deviate from the prescribed format. So could the portfolio holder answer that question for me, please, or make a comment on my comment, please? Thank you.
Not yet, Councillor Shaw, but yes, please, if you would bear in mind what the request. Yes. Councillor Feeney, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sort of a bit disappointed with this debate, actually, because these accounts tell us what we've spent our money on in the past year. They tell you what we've achieved as a council, and we haven't really talked about any of that at all. I do take on board Councillor Condicor's actually very valid point that there are numbers that aren't yet known and that we do have to remember that and perhaps say, whilst they look good, there may be a gremlin or two running around in the bottom of the account, should we say, Councillor Condicor, and kind of leave it there. But actually, this is what we decided last year in our budget, not all of which we agreed with as a Labour group, but it has been delivered. But for me, I think it's really important we understand that there's overspend in here. We overspent on our revenue budget more than we thought we were going to. That will be obviously assumed and sorted in this year's budget. It'll have to be. But there are things in here that we've done really well. We've done amazing things in libraries. We've done things to support older people. We've done things with sustainability. And those are the things that we should be talking about because...
Councillor Serafini, Good on you for saying that. Good on you for saying that. This, as you can see, Warwickshire County Council this year has been very, very much made very toxic by reform this year, mostly because of Finch and his antics that he's got up to in the chamber. And like I say, I hopefully in the future we'll be able to have like I say, Councillor Conditor come on again and tell us what's been going on since the last time he came on. Because there has been a fair few stuff I think that's not only gone on, stuff that didn't get reported as well on here, which is why I always say, if you are a county councillor, if you know a county councillor or even a parish councillor that is in one of these reform places, do by means tell them to get in touch with me. I want to speak to these people because they know more what's going on in these county councils, more what reform are damaging in many of these places than sometimes gets reported in the moment. But yeah, good on her, by the way, for doing that. I think it is actually good to bring up some of the achievements that they've done. And of course, remember, these aren't, reform achievements. That some of these are conservative achievements that they were responsible for. Remember, this is 2024 and 2025, which again, they were still in charge back during that time period. So once again, this is reform trying to take credit for stuff that they didn't do, which, bear in mind, has been a key feature we have been covering since May on this part.
Everyone thinks accounts are really boring, right? Everyone thinks the budget's really boring. We know that people don't like numbers, apart from Councillor Crump. Sorry, he's shaking his head, and I know that Councillor Crump is very, very keen on numbers, having been his former job. So I apologise there, Councillor Crump, and possibly to Councillor Keth as well, who also likes numbers very much. But I think it's really important because these numbers represent our services, what it means to the people of our county. And if we don't think about that and we don't reflect on that, then I think we're failing our citizens. This isn't about congratulating people or, which party's the better of the two, who's the most amazing. This is about what we've delivered for our citizens and what we're going to deliver for our citizens. And I think it's really important that we remember that in this chamber. That's why I'm here, and that's why our group is here. And for me, I think we've done some really good things to do for our citizens. We've won awards, we have pushed out the boundaries and things like libraries, and we should carry on doing those things. And they are really important for us. So thank you for the accounts. Thank you for telling us what we've spent our money on. And I look forward to February, the discussions about what we're going to spend our money on for the next year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fier. There are no other comments on the debate. Councillor Howard, please, if you'd like, you reserved your comments as seconder.
I did, Chairman, but I'm waiving it now.
Councillor Shaw, your right of reply, please. Have you considered your comment and request from Councillor Crump?
Yes, I'll get some more information on that and pass it over to Councillor Crump. Thank you.
And Councillor Shaw, please, would you move the recommendation, please?
Yes, I move the recommendation. Yes, I have to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. That's good. So we shall go to the vote at this point. All those in favour? Against? Keith? Abstentions? None. That's carried. That's right. Right, we're moving to item 4 on the agenda. There's the Warwickshire Pension Fund accounts for 2024-25, page 217 in your packet. And I'm going to invite Councillor Shaw, please, to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. I'll get it right this time. So the Council's been ready to approve the Warwick Pension Fund statement for the Council 24-25.
Let's have a look at this.
The pension fund is part of the National Local Government Pension Scheme.
Because this might be
for his service, and move this for your agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bannister. Do we have a seconder?
Thanks, Chair. I just want to say thanks to the officers for this fantastic report, and I'll second this motion.
Let's skip.
Moving to the votes, please. Those in favour?
There we go.
Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Here is the governance report, and the governance report is what exactly you would think it is. This is how everything has been working, how it has been going. So this is. And I will be very interested to hear if anyone's got anything to say about the handover between the previous administration to the now, conservative, the reform, really the conservative 2.0, really, the reform administration, see what they've got to say here, because I don't think this might actually be very well received. I think there's going to be probably a few people in opposition speaking out against, I think, some of this.
We're moving on to item 8 in the order, the annual governance statement, 2024-25, page 355 on your pack. I'd like to invite Councillor Mike Bannister, please, to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. The annual governance statement 24-25. Of course, this is one that came from the previous administration. Is an important demonstration of how, thank you, yeah, how this council operates openly, responsibly and effectively. The statement is retrospective, looking back over 24-25, and is supported by the action plan for 25-26, for which the actions are all on target or complete. The plan shows that we are committed to continuous improvement and positive reform, learning from experience and adapting where necessary to serve our communities even better. By reviewing our own performance and strengthening our arrangements, we ensure that confidence in this council remains well placed and that we are well prepared for the challenges and opportunities ahead. For those reasons, I'm going to commend this statement to the council, but also take this opportunity to thank a member who's left the committee, that is Robert Zara, who served as an independent member on that committee for many years. I'd like to thank him for his service and move this for your agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see where this goes now. I'm thinking there might be a couple of things to say about this, because as you can see, we're currently 2 hours into the thing. There's still a lot of time left. You know, this was a 6-hour meeting. You know, we're only 2 hours and 35 minutes into it, skipping to here. So I think there might be maybe some interesting stuff coming up. Hopefully, who knows?
Thank you very much, Councillor Bannister. Do we have a seconder?
Thanks, Chair. I just want to say thanks to the office for this fantastic report, and yeah, I'll second this motion.
Are you reserving your right to speak at the end? No reservation. Okay. Right. Are there any amendments? No. We'll move that straight into the debate then. Who would like to start the debate? Councillor Dixon, please.
Thank you, Chair. Approving the annual governance statement may seem actually like a very routine thing to do, which, because we have to do it every year, it is. But just because it's routine doesn't mean that it's boring, let alone unimportant. In fact, in many ways, approving the annual governance statement, I would submit, is the most important thing that this council does every year. Because unlike setting the annual budget, it's not about what this council does. Because unlike approving the audited accounts, it's not about what the council does with its money. The annual governance statement is far more important than that. It's about, as we've heard, how the council works. And how the council works is what underpins local democracy. How the council works is what builds trust amongst our residents and in our communities. And how the council works builds.
Yeah, and Finch has not been shall we say, helping that along of building people's trust in their local democracy and their local council.
Strong and sustainable relationships with our partners. So I was delighted, as Councillor Bannister said, that this annual governance statement was taken very seriously and closely scrutinised at a recent meeting of the Audit and Standards Committee. And I want to join with him in thanking staff for putting the report together. One of the issues that we discussed at the committee meeting was the extent to which councillors adhered to the Code of Conduct, particularly regarding the complaints policy, which is referenced in the report on page 300.
For those of you fans of the channel may know, complaints went up very dramatically, Under the previous administration from the same time period, they had 4 complaints. 4 complaints in total. There were, in this, as I'm sure we'll mention in a moment, there were around 23 complaints. So to go from 4 to 23 complaints is a very big jump. And remember, 19 of those complaints were against Reform UK.
And 70. This dictates how councillors behave. It is the basis of trust. Now, I learned recently that the number of complaints about councillors made to the council in the last financial year, 24-25, was 9. This council has a fairly easy and, thankfully, clear process for making a complaint about a councillor, and long should it remain so. But in just the 8 months since March 2025, there have been 31 complaints made to the council about councillors.
Oh, that's gone up.
On an annual basis, this equates to an increase of more than 500%.
Yep.
This is a significant change, I submit, since the year end.
This administration often says that people voted for change in May. But is this 500% increase in the number of complaints really the sort of change they wanted? What's worse is that more than 80% of the complaints made since March about Warwickshire County councillors have been about councillors in one party, in the Reform Party.
I wonder which party that was.
22 out of 57 councillors, that's 39% of the councillors, have generated 80% of the complaints since March. So yes, let's welcome this annual governance statement. But a 500% annual increase in complaints is not good. Some people would use stronger language than not good. It needs urgent improvement. This administration says it is listening to what residents and communities are saying. But what does a 500% increase in complaints say? So my hope, my plea today is that the leader will take this opportunity to confirm what actions are being taken in 2025-26 by the administration to ensure that going forward, the need for people to make so many complaints is reduced, especially when 80% of those complaints come from one party. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Very true.
Councillor Bridge.
Very, very true indeed. Bear in mind, Warwickshire is not alone in this. Warwickshire is not alone in this happening. This has happened at almost every single other reform controlled council. Complaints have rocketed up. Why? Because people are complaining about these reform councillors. Well, one, not doing their job. that seems to be the main one, but also the big one, how they are behaving on social media. I know, it's shocking, right? But no, these councillors, these reform councillors, they really do not behave professionally. If they behaved this way in any other like business or office or anything like that, they would be sacked. You know, there would be a HR policy saying, right, you have been saying this stuff on social media, you know, you are, someone who's in our company, you need to explain these or you need to stop, or else, you're going to get the sack. So I'd be very interested to see what Finch has to say in response to these numbers of rising in complaint, because again, they are all from his party, and most, I would not be surprised, are about him.
Water, please. Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say, if you guys stopped making the complaints, we wouldn't have so many against us. Thank you very much.
What, that was it? Oh, if you stop making all these complaints against us, has he not considered that many of these complaints are valid? Remember, as was pointed out there, you have had a 500% increase in complaints. 80% of those, 80 of those complaints, or at least 80% of those, like 30 odd complaints, I think he said there were, generated by one party. That's not good. That's not good at all, because unfortunately, how this complaint procedure works, we aren't allowed to know what some of these complaints are about. I think in the governor's report, they say most of it was like social media. They're very sort of hands-off. Like specifically, I think you cannot freedom of information request these complaints on that. So we might never know what these complaints actually were or what they were complaining about. But who knows? Who knows? But they will come out in time. I have no doubt in time we'll find out more about this. That's for sure.
Bridgewater, thank you. We won't. We shall keep everything civil. Thank you. Councillor Curtis, please.
Thank you, Chair. Unlike the leader of the council, I think this is rather a serious report, and I'd invite the leader to explain what he finds so amusing about this. He seemed to be greeting this report with smiles and sniggers, and so perhaps he could explain to us what he finds so amusing about this report. Thank you.
Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think over the last few weeks we have seen other councils across the country that have become reform-led administrations and reform-dominated administrations come under some severe questioning, shall we say. You had Staffordshire, where there was a white supremacist.
Councillor, can we keep it to the report, please?
We absolutely can. I want some guarantees from the councillors opposite to make sure that we don't see a repeat of anything that's happened in reform councils across the country in this chamber, because their behaviour does impact on the way that people are going to perceive the reform councillors in this chamber. Playing politics from the leader. Thank you. I'm sure that racism is just a bit of politics to him, but to me, it's a matter of quite severe importance. So with all due respect, I think we need to do a bit better, and I would like to see some guarantees from the leader that he's taking this seriously. Thank you.
Councillor Condicourt, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a bit of experience in these issues, but on both sides. I know how few complaints there was at Warwickshire County Council under the administration of Izzy Seckham. We had lots of robust debates, and we did laugh a lot. We had a few characters in the room, and I think people are finding their feet as well. So I hope going forwards, the amount of complaints we have will go down a lot as people start to bed in. And the complaints aren't, I don't think, coming from members anyway, but a lot of people get frustrated, particularly when things are said that cause them to want to complain. And I think we should probably look a bit at the figures, because
I got this from when I was speaking to Councillor Condiver as well. I think he's hopeful some of these people on the reform side are going to end up maybe doing somewhat of a good job, because being a county council at this level is important. You do have a lot of power to make a lot of positive change if you do your job well, but you also have a lot of power to make a lot of damage if you do not do your job well, if you do not turn up to meetings, if you do not basically do your job as a county councillor. So far, bear in mind, covering all these reform councillors, might there end up being eventually like one or two people who actually turn out to be good councillors? I am willing to say that might happen, but so far, going into next year, I'm not holding my breath, because I have not seen any improvement, or as I'm sure when it gets around to George Finch, there is no attempt. There will be no attempt at any attempt at improvement of some of these councillors. I don't think these people are going to learn at all. And I would not be too surprised if this time next year, complaints are still very high.
And what we're doing, and maybe just dial things down a notch. I couldn't avoid complaints at the Borough Council. There was lots of issues there. It's quite a toxic culture. When I came to the County Council, we always treated lots of respect. The previous leader was very good at trying to hold together quite a diverse set of people. And I do think things are more peaceful here. And I hope we go that way here. Complaints are expensive, particularly when they're more at the serious end. You can start having investigations, and you can easily run up £10,000, £20,000 cost. So, can we dial things down, treat issues with respect? I am always going to disagree very violently.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. These investigations do cost the council money. Bear in mind, if the council thinks that there has been a breach of conduct and this goes to an actual proper investigation, this will cost the council money. Now, that is not that you should not be making a complaint if you have a reform council or you get a reform councillor after May's local election. Do not be put off thinking, oh, if I make this complaint, it'll cost the council money. No, make that complaint, make yourself heard, because I'll tell you what, so far, some of these councillors, the message that they, need to do their job is not sinking in. It is not sinking in. So I am not as optimistic as Councillor Conditor said, not only when we talked to him at the start of back in April, I think it was, and we had a chat with him, but I am not that confident that some of these reform people are going to be learning their lessons. Some might actually become somewhat competent, maybe councillors, but I'll tell you now, I ain't seeing it at the moment. I ain't seeing it anywhere close to this at the moment.
In thought, but not with actions. Yeah, with we can be opposite, but we can actually have a laugh. I can put my silly hat on, and we don't need to put complaints in all the time. But we do need to have that bit of respect. And I do actually think Izzy Second was a very good council leader, because you never really knew what she was talking about or her views. Because her job as leader was actually to let everyone else say what they wanted to say. And so there was a fair amount of respect and things. So yeah, dull things down. We'll try not to have too many complaints about anyone, and don't complain about me too much as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gondacourt. We'll have Councillor Finch, Councillor Crump, and then I think we'll draw a line there with Councillor Edwards. Oh, Councillor Feeney and we'll draw the line there, Councillor Feeney.
All right, let's see what Finch has to say. Bear in mind, all these complaints, vast majority of them are against people in his party. I don't have to, roll the bones, to know what's coming. It is prepare for, party political broadcast. These complaints are not our fault. These complaints are vexatious. Get your bingo cards ready. These are vexatious complaints. These complaints have no merit. These complaints are maybe anonymous complaints, dare I say, of what I think you might say. But yeah, prepare for Finch to take absolutely no accountability of the fact that, complaints have shot up, not only, of course, here, but elsewhere in these councils as well.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. I can't remember all the comments after what Keith just said. So, yes, complaints have risen, but I would like to question how many are then therefore upheld. Is a different question. But the point is that we've seen new councillors.
Even if they are not upheld, these complaints are still made. And I think even if a complaint is not upheld, you should still be taking this seriously. Now, of course, he's going to go, oh, but these are new councillors. These are new councillors. No, that honestly does not wash. You are coming up to a year in May of where these people were put in charge, and we are still seeing complete acts of sheer incompetence, councillors in Reform not doing their jobs, and pretending that they don't really have a job as a council, that it's somehow easy. This is not the response you should be giving on that, because this undermines local democracy and people's trust in local democracy when you have this rising complaints and you are clearly not taking it seriously.
From every political party come in. As Keith rightly says, people will make complaints, that's life. And the legal team, the legal services are there to support councillors to go through those and so on. So it's not much about which political party most of them are from, because again, we can talk about behaviours from other political parties.
It kind of is when you are the party that has driven these rising complaints.
In this chamber and outside the chamber on social media and so on, and false allegations from some political parties there, but we're not talking about those. So it's whatever's in this report.
Just throwing false allegations. Again, he just throws stuff out. This is the thing that I've seen from Finch. This is what you call gish galloping. Whenever someone says something, just throw everything at the wall at the kitchen sink and just see what sticks and what people remember. That way, people look like you've said something. You've used your time to say something. But what have you really said about this issue? Not a lot.
What we're going to vote through, and you need to remember the rhetoric that you're putting on social media as well. It brings everything down. We want to lead this council with professionalism and statesman-like leadership and with the administration. And it's the little comments that we keep seeing coming from the Greens and also the Lib Dems there about laughing and are they taking it seriously? And this is the point: is that as an administration.
But these comments that they are making are about you. They're about Reform in the way that you are acting. This whole idea that you are just blameless. There's nothing. Oh, if only we were treated with respect. Maybe, as they often say, respect is a two-way street. I think when we get Councillor Conditore back on, I think he would agree. Reform UK and some of the councillors have not shown a lot of respect to their fellow councillors from other parties.
We are taking this seriously, and it's a natural progress. So, I don't see much comments coming from yourselves there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Finch. Councillor Crump, please.
That was a complete nothing statement. That was a nothing statement on that. That was an absolute nothing statement from Finch there. Well, if all these comments were coming in, respect. Again, he has a way of saying basically nothing, Councillor Finch. He has a way of saying absolutely nothing while coming across, saying absolutely nothing. But anyway, let's see what some of the other people have to say in response to that.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I think I'll pass on the backhanded compliment from Councillor Condacor to the Councillor Second. I think that was a backhanded compliment. It's probably the best people would get from you. So I think I'll pass that on. And secondly, I can confirm that none of the complaints were about my jokes out of the 30 that have been received. Well, might be one. So thank you for that. But I think, yeah, it's all about talking, isn't it? I think sometimes these things can be resolved by a quick cup of coffee by the machine. Let's talk about these things and let's approach them sensibly. Sometimes there are complaints that need to go through the formal process. So don't get me wrong, the formal process is right at times, and we need to respect that. But I think we just need to be careful. We're all guilty of this at times, of speaking over people in meetings, not respecting the chair, and making comments or tutting or whatever. So please just be a bit more like a ranger. Let's have a little respect in the meetings. And then if we have got an issue, these meetings are being televised, and members of the public, I do sometimes think, what are these people doing? They're elected to serve us, and then
yeah. Oh, you've got people like me live streaming it. I'm not even from Warwickshire. I'm interested what's going on here. But again, that's that bizarre thing you pick up when you start being interested in local politics, all the little wonderful stories that go on. It is like really, suddenly getting into EastEnders or Coronation Street. You're like, what's going on here? What's been happening here? But as I've said many times, reform are just non-stop. When I first started recovering a lot of this, reform stuff, and again, I've said this in a lot of videos, I was only expecting maybe 1-2 videos, maybe a week to do about maybe stuff that might happen on some of these reform councils. I was even expecting it by the end of this year. Maybe that might have dropped off a bit to maybe 1 a week. But no, I have been able to do 2 videos a day, pretty much, about the incompetence, the stupidity, the shenanigans, all this stuff about these Reform UK councillors have been pulling since May. And bear in mind, in May, very likely, there are a lot more who are potentially going to be elected. Potentially even in my own council, which I am not looking forward to if that happens. But hey, we'll actually be covering local politics that's going on at that point. I am not looking forward to that because unfortunately we might actually have a full complete reform takeover, which will be very bad for the town. But cross everything. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does, oh boy. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that a lot if that does happen. Anyway, let's continue.
Bickering like school children, and that's no disrespect to school children, by the way. But please, let's be mindful. And if you do have some issues, sometimes please take them outside the meeting, not outside, just outside the meeting, and talk about the things before we go on to formal complaints. So, anyway, Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crump.
We've had a good
and Councillor Edwards.
All well and good, but coming back to the report, it's fine until you get to the risks section. We score the risks, DSG and the match between demand and resources. They're currently scored at 16. Our target is 12. Business continuity, that's basically resilience. That's current risk is 8. We intend to be a 6. Cyber attack we're scoring as 15. We aim that to be an 8. So we're not doing as well as we should be on managing the risks that we face externally. How are we going to improve that for the next financial year?
Thank you very much, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Feeney,
fair
please.
enough. That's fair point as well.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't going to speak because I thought Councillor Dixon laid out very eloquently what the report does, what it's for, and why we have it. And actually, I would commend to anyone who doesn't understand how the County Council works to actually read it in depth, and it will tell you exactly how the County Council works, how we discharge our duties, what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. The one thing I do want to highlight, and let's finish this debate on a positive note, is the amazing work that our fire service has done, because they are now discharged of all issues that were levied before. The culture has changed. It's a really progressive and positive report for them. And I just wanted to commend the work that our Chief Fire Officer, Ben Brooke, has done, that Andy did when he was the portfolio holder for the area. And I know it's been a lot of hard work for the whole of the fire service. And I want to thank everybody who's been involved in it. So I want to end it on a positive note and highlight and commend the work that's been done in the fire service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. That's a nice positive note. I believe Councillor Warwick, you wanted to end the session. Was that? It wasn't quite a final note there.
Yeah, I will be brief. Yes, absolutely agree what this report is for, and it's an excellent report, and I agree we must continue to build on it. And Keith, it must be Christmas. I'm in agreement with you today, and you are right. This meeting has been extremely good-humoured. It has strayed slightly at some points, and it's come back. And it's great to have Jerry in the room because he is the master of keeping a little bit of humour and keeping a bit of peace and sense. I know I'm agreeing with you today, Jerry, isn't it? It is Christmas. So yeah, we do need to have respect. Each of us came into politics, no matter what our political party or background, to make things a bit better for our community. And I think we need to respect that of each other, because that's why we're all here. No matter what political colour we fly under, we are here to make things a bit better. So
that is actually something worth bringing up, because a lot of people talk about parties very much being against each other. In a lot of these town halls, bear in mind, a lot of these like town halls and parish councils, town councils, you see a lot of really, really good bipartisanship from people from different parties coming together, working together to do stuff. I have yet to see so far, since May, a story about Reform doing that. I have yet to see any stories about that happen yet. Just to point that out. I've yet to see any stories about that happen.
So let's, as Keith says, keep the humour. Coming back to this report, excellent report. Let's congratulate the officers, congratulate the fire service for the work. We've left you a great legacy to build on. Hope you build on it, Reform. Hope the report is as good, if not better, next year. Well done, the officers, for what you've done. And let's press on together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Warwick. And I'm going to ask Councillor Bannister now to sum up and move the recommendation, please.
Thank you, Chairman. A number of issues there, and one of them that cropped up was behaviour of councillors, councillor code of conduct, and the fact that the numbers have gone up. I was going to ask Councillor Condicker if he could do us a seminar on the subject with his vast experience. That would be helpful. But, I've represented people on grievance and disciplinary hearings for over 30 years. And I can tell you now, it's never a good situation to be in. So anything that people can do to avoid going down that route, I would suggest that they do it. And I am going to address this later when we talk about independent persons who play a very clear role in the process in supporting the Section 101 officer in reaching conclusions and determining where to go into the future. But those comments are taken on board. I'm quite sure that some of those issues are very minor, and a new administration is bound to attract particular criticism from those who have been there for a longer period before. We're new. We're not the only offenders or likely offenders. There are many people who make statements and comments which in the light.
Again, we're just new. We're just new. Reform didn't train these people, right? If you were to stand as a councillor, I know full well that the Labour Party do, or at least the regional Labour Party do, full training for their Labour councillors. Like, if you are going to stand as a councillor, you get trained. You get told how to do it, what you need to do. Reform hasn't done that. Apparently, they got a weekend down in London, and that was it. There you go. Go do your job. And then, of course, what's happened? A great many of them are not doing their job. We have been covering this since May. I have no doubt after next May's election, it's only going to get worse. And bear in mind, January, we are coming up in really the start of the campaign season for the May local elections. You are really going to start to see those those campaigns kicking off. And it would be very interesting to see what Reform are going to do on these campaign trails. I don't think it's going to be honestly too much different from what we saw last year, which was that council is terrible. Look at them; they're corrupt. They're terrible. Meanwhile, of course, what we've seen when they've taken over, as you've seen here, Warwickshire's got a really good, an independent financial, statement. I can guarantee you, if you look back at at some of the stuff these Reform people were saying at the May elections, they were probably telling you, "Oh, these Conservatives, they're running Warwickshire into the ditch." Doesn't look like it. In fact, it doesn't look like it from the vast majority of reports that have been done, and then Reform have tried to take credit for.
Right, okay, they might not look back on with pleasure, but a handshake, an apology, and an acceptance that, yes, it's a political arena, and from time to time there will be a debate that strays into areas we might be concerned about. But yes, we take this seriously. I do hope that the number of complaints will reduce, and of course that's up to a lot of people across that side of the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ban.
Wait, why is it up to people on the side of the room? You are the one that are generating these complaints. It's your party that's generating these complaints. Sorry, not your party, the Jeremy Corbyn movement, which we've now got to say because, that's now the official name. It is Reform that are generating these complaints. Yeah, I don't think these complaints are going to go down. I think these complaints on these Reform councils are very, very likely to stay quite high, to be honest, given the way that they've been acting. There has been no attempt being made at improvement. You've seen that from George Finch. There was nothing about him apologizing for maybe statements he had made, or he was going to maybe speak with the rest of the team about maybe bringing some more professionalism. None of that. None of that. So I don't think any of these things are going to improve, quite frankly, to be honest.
Minister, for the summation, we're moving the recommendation. Yes. Councillor Bannister, we are moving the recommendation.
Apology, I'm indeed moving the recommendation.
We are. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we move to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? That one's carried. Thank you. Moving to item 9 now, walking and cycling schemes with internal and external funding, page 399 in the pack. I'm going to invite Councillor Jennifer Warren to move the recommendation.
I think we are going to skip forward. So I think
this has been an excellent and
there is, I believe it is here, the community safety agreement.
Our decision making, and I know a lot of work has gone into it, and there's some really good reading. So I suggest you have a real
could be
data in there.
Quite interesting.
The report is a formal response to the September 2025 Council motion asking for a full schedule of all walking and cycling.
Warwickshire. The Safety Warwickshire Partnership Board approved the agreement in June, and I'm pleased to say that the Cabinet has now endorsed it. The next step is for full council to approve it today, where we need this vote in because this is the core part of our policy framework. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bridgewater. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, Chairman, I second and reserve my right to speak.
None. Then we move forward into the debate. The first person in the air was, I believe, Councillor Bowe, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, hang on. Before we continue, we're just going to take a little break. So I'll be right back in a moment.
Back in October at the Cabinet meeting, when this item went through Cabinet, I did ask Councillor to ask some questions. I noticed a long list of organisations outlined in the document and asked the leader for an update on the...
Helps remember to do that. Very, very much so, Billy.
I'm the wrong angle. Yeah, the crime awareness plan, which I think Councillor Bridgewater's just mentioned, and what Councillor Finch said was that he was hoping to announce some more details soon. He says, following a further query from Councillor Bowe, the leader was unable to confirm that a briefing would be ready in time for the leaders' liaison group, but he hoped to receive an update from officers next week. So that was in October, and I was just wondering if there was more of an update, because if members will remember, I think we were all promised, I think, £3,000 to do crime awareness projects in our divisions, plus money to organise a couple of events every year in our divisions, and that was announced, I think, at the end of August. Sadly, I was on holiday at the time, so I missed the actual announcement. But obviously, that's 2 months since the Cabinet meeting, so I'd be very grateful if Councillor Finch could give us an update on where we are with this money that we're all very excited to receive.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowe. Councillor Finch will take that question on board. We have Councillor.
Thank you very much. It's very useful having these reports and seeing the various topics that come up. And one of the cross-cutting things in Nuneaton and Bedford is obviously things like drug misuse, etc., which is behind a lot of the issues we have, both in society and in town centres, etc. But the other thing that comes up quite high on the list is hate crime. And that's written particularly with all the things going on and the accusations about this religion or that race or whatever. So, as I was saying earlier, it's always useful to tone things down and not let this stuff get carried away. But also, we're, as a council, fund an organisation called, I don't know how you pronounce it, EQUIP, which does a lot of the stuff about equality, diversity, and particularly about race relations. And we've probably funded about 150,000 a year out of our 300,000 spent on that sort of area. And that's one of the areas that the reform is actually going to cut funding for. So can I ask you reconsider that? Because so much of the rise in hate and things then has onward cost to society. And a lot of this equality, diversity and inclusion stuff.
Don't be silly. This is woke. Of course reform are going to cut. Of course reform are going to cut this.
Actually makes us all live better together and reduces crime and the fear of crime. So in looking at this, it's an area we do need to look at. And there's far too much hate crime and too much hate in the world as it is. It's Christmas time. It'd be nice if actually people would really think about other religions. Everyone's been upset about atrocities and everyone having a go at everyone else doesn't help. But I do pick out this funding for the equality, diversity and inclusion stuff, but actually to lower the temperature. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gondcourt. Councillor Phelps, please.
Thank you. Firstly, I have to declare an interest because I do sit on this board for Warwick District Council. It's a really, really good meeting. Everyone is a really good meeting. In fact, we've got so much to talk about, we never get it done in time. So the current chair keeps, next one. But I want to commend the officers because so much of the work is done after the meetings. You know, we make decisions, we move on, but it's the officers in a numerous amount of groups, you know, children, young people, in violence against women and girls. There's so much done behind the scenes that people don't realise just from the strategy. So I do commend the officers for what they do, and I will be supporting this because it's a really good strategy. It is, we do all work together on this. And we find out information at this meeting. This is really, really useful. And long may it continue.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phelps. Councillor Bannister, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just in relation to Councillor Condica's comment about EQUIP, no decision has been made yet in that area. I'm the portfolio holder, and I'm looking at all of the funding for the voluntary sector to see how that works into the future with LGR and how we can best manage the local communities by bringing organisations together, deciding what works, what doesn't, and what we need to keep. So no decision has been made yet, but we are, as I've said before, at overview and scrutiny, looking at all of the funding for the voluntary sector, not necessarily with the intention of cutting it, but to make sure it's effective, doing the right job in the communities, and particularly as we...
Oh, is this guy in charge of the doggle stuff? This is your local doggle guy in Warwickshire. Good luck. Because they haven't proved to be very good. We'll see what happens when the budget comes out. I have a feeling a lot of councillors are going to get a very unexpected, maybe Christmas presents, maybe soon. If you've been following what's been going on down in Kent as well, that might happen to maybe a couple of other councillors over Christmas period.
We move towards LGR. So nothing's determined, Keith, at this stage. Everything is under review. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Bannister. Councillor Feeney, please.
Thank you, Chair. I also, like Councillor Phelps, must declare a personal interest in this, as I sit on the Community Safety Partnership for Rugby for the County Council. The work that they all do is absolutely immense, and the work that the Borough Council, the County Council, the police, all the other services do together is really, really important. And I'd just like to highlight some of the work in rugby has been about making sure that people know what their rights are, they know how to keep themselves safe. There was a big event in the middle of the summer that the police hosted in Caldecott Park with all partners, which was really about community safety, and I have to say it was excellent and very well attended. The thing I would say is I'm really pleased to hear what Councillor Bannister has said about EQUIP. I have supported residents to use that service, and they have absolutely really been brilliant. So, you know, if there's any pleas going on Councillor Bannister, I definitely recommend that Equip keep their funding, because the work that they do is absolutely second to none, and they have done a huge amount in race hate crime, and they certainly have made sure that residents that I've engaged with have had the proper support and the knowledge and knowing where to go, because that's critical as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney. Councillor Caradia.
Oh, someone else muted as well. No, that's not me. This is the audio. Yep, they clearly forgot to unmute the microphone here for this section. So you cannot hear him at all. This isn't me. No idea what he's saying. I'm sure it must be very good, but unfortunately, they've forgotten to turn his mic on, or at least his mic's on. You can see the lights on, but the stream has not added his audio. In fact, I think they've muted all audio, which is odd. So yeah, just gonna wait now till till that statement is over.
Thank you, Councillor Caradia.
Yeah, and it's back on.
Any other debate? Councillor Kettle, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. North Warwickshire and the South Warwickshire, which represents two second-tier local authorities, so 3 out of the 5, includes rural crime. And I'm not going to go into my preamble about living in a rural area again, but I could. I think it is concerning in what is a significantly rural county, where rural crime rates are increasing year on year, that this paper does not include as a priority rural crime, choosing to have others which are not on the priorities of some of those authorities.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kettle. Any further debate? No. In the absence of that, I shall go back to Councillor Finch, who's reserved his right to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for hearing some of the debates, which are great. But just to answer Councillor Bode's question, the crime awareness and prevention programme is working forward, and like we said before, at the leaders' liaison meeting, which again are confidential to the rest of the council. But I did say that it'd be something that, and you know, make it public now, is that we are putting this through the budget. This is something that we're working on with the budget process. So, like I said before at Cabinet, these are things that we do want to do, and we're going to allocate it in our budget setting process, so we can debate that in February when that comes at the budget setting meeting.
Thank you.
So they're trying to pass something, but they don't know what money they're going to have for this new crime and safety agreement, because they haven't yet set the budget for it. A wonderful way to go about making your policy. Announce it, say you're going to do it, and then go, yeah, the money is, we don't know. Wonderful way to go about this, guys.
Councillor Finch, Councillor Bridgewater, you're right to reply, sum up, and move the recommendation, please.
Thank you, Chair. I will reply. Councillor Finch has just answered Councillor Bode for me, which was great. I would like to answer Councillor Keith over there. Drug misuse. You know, we don't want definitely a leader who will legalise drugs on our streets. We want to make sure we combat drugs in the right way. So we're definitely not going to be follow the Green Party there. The biggest, I would say, the biggest hate crime in Warwickshire is coming from Warwick itself, with 1,636 hate crimes, including social media, mostly on social media. I'd like to thank you for your comments, and Councillor Bannister. Rural crime, they do.
So if that is the case, why aren't you doing something about that then? Like, if you're going to highlight that, what are you going to do about it? This is where I constantly talk about how bad, like, some of these reform people are, because he's highlighted something. They're literally talking about a community safety agreement for the next, well, couple of years, from 2025 till 2029. You've highlighted something, something that, is a problem. So what exactly is your party? Sorry, no, not your party, Jerry Corbyn. God, I hate that they've called it that now. the reform. What is reform going to do? You're in charge now, guys. What are you going to do? Oh, that's right. Absolutely nothing. Anyway, yeah. This is honestly what you can expect if you get a reform council in May. There's a problem here. How are you going to solve it? Don't know. Wonderful thinking on that front.
The police do operations, but once the operations are finished, the crime spikes again. So it's got to be a constant thing there. So I'll take that on board and work with the safety team on that. And other than that, I will move this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bridgewater. We're going to move that to the vote right now then. Those in favour?
So that goes to the
Those
vote.
against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Moving to item 11 then, on the order of business, we have the appointment of independent persons, page 451 in your pack. I'll be inviting Councillor Bannister, please, to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Chairman. Council will recall at the last full council meeting, we appointed 4 new people to the independent panel under the terms of the Localism Act 2011. Today, we're fulfilling the final placement, and that's gone out to interview process. And we have today a candidate who we're going to ask you to agree to serve on the panel, and that is Mr. Mavridis. Mr. Mavridis. And Mr. Mavridis is a HR professional with a lot of experience in both the public and private sector, and he has an understanding of the role of councillors.
We'll skip
When
the
we last
notice of the
discussed
motion.
The subject of the motion is so important and is not about party politics, and I just want to make that clear. So, to talk about the motion itself, fundamentally, this is about ensuring that the children of Warwickshire can safely access educational establishments across the county. I want to be clear that this is not a funding motion. We are not asking for funding, but we are asking for a report to be completed on the art of the possible. This isn't about a retrofit, but a logical assessment of all new schools and extensions to schools to include safe crossings. At the moment, only school patrols outside of primary schools are part of our policy. I would like this to change. You don't just suddenly go from primary to secondary as an 11-year-old and can magically safely cross the...
Wow. This debate goes on for 3 hours. That's kind of impressive. I was like, this seems to be a really quick council meeting. Why is there still much time left? But no. Yes, they seem to have brought up this motion. There's does seem to be, a lot of stuff to talk about on that. Although it might be more than one motion that gets brought up in this, which explains why it might be so long. Yeah, anyway, let's get into it then, shall we?
The road in all awareness.
Oh, someone forgot to turn the phone off.
Sorry, that threw me a bit. We want to emphasise that we are, that we would like developer funding to take into account safe crossings, and that actually, when it comes to 20-mile-an-hour criteria for roads, that at the moment that does not currently include distance from schools, and we think that should be part of the criteria. Finally, in terms of the average speed cameras, we do not currently use these in Warwickshire, and we'd like that to be considered as a possibility. And with all these elements, I'd like to reassure everyone that these are not just a blanket application. This would be assessed by highways, by planning, and the relevant criteria would be applied, and the funding would be applied as part of that. So I just want to make that clear. I've heard some rumours that this is all about asking for money, which it absolutely isn't. But it is about us understanding, as I said, the art of the possible when it comes to making sure that the children of Warwickshire can access schools safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. And do we have a seconder?
Yes, apologies. I'm not Councillor Cameron, so you'll have to make do with me instead. I'd be very happy to second this motion and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Do we have any amendments? Councillor Matteski.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been working with Councillor Scott on this, and I did mention to Councillor Scott that I probably couldn't support this motion as it stood. I think it was too wide scoping. There were other issues with financing, etc. And so we put forward together an amendment that I hope Councillor Scott finds is acceptable, that keeps to the spirit of what she's trying to achieve without actually making commitments. I don't think it'll be right for us to make commitments when we do not know about the funding and the total scope in there. And I hope it's going to still achieve what Councillor Scott is looking for. Just one correction I would like to make: we do have some average speed cameras in the county. Not many, but we do. Whether they're fully operational all the time, I'm not sure, but we do have some. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Matteski. Is there a seconder? Councillor?
Yes, I second this motion, amendment, sorry, and reserve my right to speak.
Councillors, are there any other amendments on this particular matter? No. Councillor Scott, is this a friendly amendment?
It is a friendly amendment. However, following legal advice, I'd like to add one more sentence, which is the first full paragraph after the bullet points. And I would like to change it to: this council commits to receiving a report within 6 months to be presented to the Communities Overview and Scrutiny Committee before going forward to Cabinet. And I would like to ask Councillor Mateki if that is a friendly amendment.
Councillor Matesky.
Yes, I can confirm we'll accept that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's accepted. Then that becomes the substantive motion that we're working on going forward. Okay, so I'm going to open the debate with, there's been first hand was Councillor Cowsher, I believe.
Thanks, Chair. I don't think anybody could be in any way against a motion.
This must go. I can only predict this. Something must happen here, because bear in mind there is only one more agenda item after this, and you are 3 hours in. Sorry, yeah, just over 3 hours in, and this is a 6-hour meeting. I think something is about to kick off here. Maybe I might be wrong. I might be wrong on this, but yeah, you could be in for some fun on this.
Motion proposing safety in relation to school children going to school. I think we would struggle very much with the motion as it was originally drafted, but certainly with the amendment from the Conservatives, which I think means that if there are budgetary implications of this, it is actually within budgets, then that is able to support. So we welcome the amendment, which is sensible. We welcome the theme for the proposal, and we will be able to support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cowsher. Councillor Feeney, please.
Thank you, Chair. Fully supportive of this motion, and it's really critical because we know there's a number of schools in the county that struggle with road safety, that struggle with speeding outside the schools. Even in my division, which is pretty much a 20-mile-an-hour division, one of the first introduced ever in the county, thanks to the work of Councillor Alan Webb, my predecessor, St Andrews Ben, we've struggled with some road safety issues there, which are now being addressed, which is really positive. The thing that I wanted to highlight particularly is point 5 around the additional average speed cameras. We moved a motion on this 2 years ago.
Who knows? This was you do bring up a point there. They did do this. They actually did do this. This is, if you did not see this and you are tuning in for the first time, Reform did approve painting lines, like school lines that you see, the jagged yellow lines. They did that to a school that had not been opened for, what was it? 5 years, I think. I did tell you there's a lot of incompetence going on here. I did tell you there's a lot of incompetence going on in some of these councils, but it's coming from the Reform lot on this one. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 5 years. Yeah. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Ago. Sadly, the Conservative group felt that they couldn't support it then. So I'm pleased to see that they've carried on and put it into their motion now, because for me, it's really critical. If you go to Coventry, if you drive, I think it really changes your mindset. You don't slow down for the camera. You actually slow down between a given set of points and do the speed limit. Obviously, if you're a person who likes to speed, obviously I don't, so it's not a problem. I just need to make that clear for anybody watching. But it's a different mindset when you use average speed cameras. And I think it's something we should, as a county, be looking at more of. It is really critical in road safety that we slow people down. You know, it's made very eloquently, the point in here by Councillor Scott is made around 20 miles an hour. You're 5 times more likely to survive a crash at 20 miles an hour than you are at 30 miles an hour. So, you know, for the sake of our children, who we all agree are incredibly important, they're our future, they're our pride and our joy, and we want them to be safe. So I would say particularly I commend this, and I particularly commend the expansion of average speed cameras. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Councillor Holland, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I remember about 4 years ago we had a debate about 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, because it has been Department for Transport policy for about 30 years now that all residential streets should be 20 miles an hour. It doesn't solve the problem of road safety, but it certainly does make a big improvement and reduce casualties. And in our previous debate, the point was made that the County Council doesn't have the resources to bring in 20...
If again, I'm sure someone will correct me. I believe Reform have been against this. I believe Reform have been very, very clearly come out against 20-mile-an-hour speed limit zones. I'm prepared to stand corrected, but I believe this has been a big point of campaigning for them, that they don't want these 20-mile-an-hour speed limit zones. I know this was certainly something that they were talking about in Wales, but I don't know if they've really rolled this out for other places as well.
mile an hour across the whole county, and that it would be left to local councillors, if they felt it appropriate, to make their case. And in some ways, that's sort of not satisfactory, but it did give us a way forward. And I have taken advantage of that. I have 4 primary schools in my area of Warwick West. All 4 of them now are in 20-mile-an-hour zones. The 3 in residential areas, it's the whole estate that they're in, is now 20 miles an hour. The one in the town centre is 20 at the front door, and when we finish our town centre traffic scheme, it will be entirely in a 20 zone. But I think there are several points here. One is I actually tested this in the election we had 6 months ago and made it my #1 promise that I would deliver more 20-mile-an-hour streets. And in the 6 months since then, an extra 30 streets have come within the zone. It can be achieved. And I think the other point is that it is incredibly popular with the residents of Warwickshire. And now I've got about 3/4 of Warwick West in 20 mile an hour. I have never, ever had an objection from a member of the public. And we obviously have to consult very widely and quite rightly. And there certainly is support for this. So I shall vote for this motion and would encourage other councillors to take up their local area problems and work with them.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Councillor Wayne, please.
Oh. I will inform you we'll be cutting it, of course, to funding after we've cut it. Yeah, I'm guessing you're quite behind of where we were discussing for your comment there. But yes, I would not be surprised when it comes to when it comes to the budget. Certainly, remember, they've got to be putting this budget before the full council in January. This is when it goes to the budget subcommittees in February. So far, remember the cabinets that they have had. We are guessing so far that in these cabinet meetings they have approved some budget of some sort. But I have a sneaking suspicion a lot of councillors are suddenly going to get a lot of, shall we say, Christmas presents in the form of budget files, maybe over Christmas. Who knows? I would not be surprised if that happened. I know it's just happened in Kent.
I'm Briggs, sorry.
So I was confused there as well, sorry. Yeah, so I welcome the Conservative amendment to this. I mean, on paper, of course, everyone wants every child to be safe, but as a group, we will always look to support any proposals that aim to further protect and keep our children safe. However, there is a limit financially to what we can do, so we have to prioritise. That's just the facts of life. And I think the amendment gives us the chance to bring it to a review and scrutiny committee and consider what our priorities are and where we can best spend our money. So I welcome it. So thank you for bringing the initial motion.
Yeah, most people may not remember this guy. This was the guy right at the start. He went to a meeting of head teachers, which I don't think he has been back to since. A lot of the head teachers really laid into this guy. Like it was painful to watch with him being literally just being beaten out by these head teachers. But yeah, it was fun to watch at the time. I don't think he's been back to that meeting since. I'd be very surprised to learn if he had.
As well. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you, Councillor Briggs. And Councillor Cameron, please.
It's that cheer a bit, I'm not sure which. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I absolutely implore you to all vote in favour of this motion. It's been a little bit of work to get it together. I'm sad that I'm not seconding it, but such is life. There's 3 schools I can think of straight off the bat within my ward. There's for Longley, we have the Bournebrook School. We have Corley Academy, which we received a petition for only a few months ago. And we also have the Coleshill School. Now, the Coleshill School is a secondary school based on a busy road coming out of Coleshill going on to the very, very busy A446. So everybody's just putting a foot down as they're flying past the school. And I've just recently had some surveys done there, and I think the high speed recorded is 47 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. So obviously not ideal. Corley Academy is a specialist SEND school, and as our petitioner told us a few months ago, a lot of those children have the sort of learning age of 5 to 6 year olds, so they may not grasp how dangerous a road can be. And the Bournebrook is right next to a set of very busy crossroads in Longley, which has its own issues as well, and there's a wider piece there that we need to do in terms of traffic calming, which is all going on behind the scenes. So please do vote for this. Councillor Scott has done an absolutely brilliant job on it, so well done to you, and yeah, please give your full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Bridgewater, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to answer some questions that they had on speed cameras there, the average speed camera as being community safety. We have 3 projects going on in Warwickshire at the minute. 2 of them are active, one of them's going to be active, and they're going to do a case study on that as well. The issue is with the speed cameras is they are expensive, the average speed cameras. They're coming in just under £100,000 each to install one. Very expensive pieces of kit there. And they do so well, the revenue that's generated from them don't actually get returned to us or the police force, it goes straight to the Treasury. So we can't actually use that to create more road safety. So, and they work so well. I've seen them in Coventry, so, you know, really good. They do work really well. I'd like them outside each schools, but I don't think it's feasible.
They work so well, but we're not going to pay to fund them. Oh. What? What is this guy saying? Oh yeah, these cameras work so well, but they're just so expensive. I've seen the benefit of them, but I'm just not going to fund them.
As a funding project. That's everything, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bridgewater. Councillor Condicourt, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. People have made quite a few comments about this motion. I did put it on my Facebook page and Twitter. And one of the comments was, well, we haven't had any fatalities. Why are you I'm thinking, you don't wait till there's a fatality in my division to actually do something about the near misses and the dangerous areas. And unfortunately, I don't have 20 mile an hour by my school, but I do by Milby School have an awful lot of nice bumps. So effectively, people don't race past Milby School too fast. The other schools I've got don't have such measures. And as a councillor, I've always been trying to add to the protection around schools. The PCSO asked for some more bollards a few months ago, and we'll get some more bollards by Wellington School to stop the parking actually on the crossroad outside Wellington School. Yeah, the parents just are mostly understanding, but you get 1 or 2 that just want to, there's no one parked actually on the crossroad, let's go and park there. So the concept of this is really good. Let's make all the school zones really safe and do it by default. So you don't actually have to have a good proactive councillor. If it's actually council policy that we look to make areas safe, then it's a lot easier for everyone. You don't have to like campaign and do the brilliant stuff that John's done everywhere. If it actually becomes a default, we actually look at an area. And one thing I really need to mention is new estates, because they're done by developers.
Surprisingly,
and at the moment, we're not asking developers to have 20 mile an hour zones near the part of the development that has schools on. It's absolutely mad, because then we have to go as a county council do TROs and try and sort it out once it becomes adopted highway, if it ever does. So I really want this idea that schools are in safe areas to be included in our planning comments on housing applications, because otherwise you have new estates built, they're like the Wild West, residents contact the councillors who say, can you send the police and get people ticketed? And well, it's actually not even an adopted road. Yeah. So I think we need to set mentality of safety right in the heart of everything we design from today. And also, average speed cameras are great for everywhere, because if those 3 sites, I think one of them didn't have electricity for ages, if those 3 sites are catching people and giving them points, those people will then drive slower everywhere else, or they'll get more points. So we really, a camera anywhere that's actually culling the idiots effectively is actually helping. And I think it would be useful if Councillor Finch would actually write to the Parliament and actually ask if we can have the revenue from these speed cameras, because we need more of them. And it's the sort of thing that would be really good if the county said, we want to make the areas around our schools safer, we want to take the dangerous motorists off the road. To do that, we need to actually have some of the funding recycled back into our speed cameras. Thank you.
Now, again, he brings up a good point. If Councillor Finch was actually a good council leader, he would be writing to government to do that. Say, hey, can we have a grant to build some average speed cameras? I do not think that Secretary for Transportation would say no to that. I think that would be a pretty easy slam dunk win. I think even maybe there might already be funding out there for this, you know. But of course, you've got a Reform council leader in charge. They're the ones in charge of, you know, going for those grants. But we know that a lot of grant applications, that these Reform people, they have not gone for these grants. I have heard something very recently. In fact, I believe it was for rugby. They had a regeneration grant. Reform have apparently pulled that. And that's not money that's, bear in mind, going back into the council. That is money that had been allocated specifically for that regeneration. If it's not used for that, doesn't get used at all, effectively gets wasted. And that's something apparently Reform have done, which is very, very suspicious. The fact that they are seem to be turning down using government grants from this particular government. I can't help but wonder why. Can't help but think there might be a political reason for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Condicourt. Councillor Edwards, please.
point 4 is the important point for me. That's about how we decide whether or not it should be a 20-mile-an-hour zone. It comes back to a question that I've raised like second full council with Councillor Warren. The point then, as it is now, is that we currently rely on things like speed surveys, traffic surveys, activities done by our highways engineers, which you just don't need if your point is that it's next to a school. You know it's next to a school. You don't need a speed survey to tell you that there's a school in the vicinity. In terms of average speed cameras, yes, they are expensive. They also might not necessarily be appropriate for all the locations. I've got a few around mine whereby there's probably natural impediments. There's easier things that we can do. So I think for me, the main focus is if I can get some 20-mile-an-hours just waved through because they're a school, then we can solve the problem of enforcement. But they're kind of two separate domains.
Thank you very much, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Rolfe, please.
Thank you, Chair. 9 years ago, I was very lucky that I was the first school, I have the first school in my division to have 20-mile-an-hour zones outside because it was a rat run from 2 main roads. I will give a word of caution here. When it was first done, I paid for half it out of my budget and the rest was paid for by the county. And the original plan was to have 20-mile-an-hour zone the whole time along that stretch of road. And we have flashing lights either end. People got very complacent because it was a 30-mile-an-hour zone. People got very complacent and began to ignore it. So what I have now is I have 20 miles an hour flashing signs from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning and from 2:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. And that's made a huge difference to people because they are now aware that at that time it is school drop-off and pick-up. So just, if you are going to get it, just push for that because it really does work. And I'm very grateful.
And again, can I point out,
and,
this is where this is done at the council level. Most people do not even realise that is what is done at the council level. That is where you have to go engage with your local councillor. And most people do not do that, They're always talking about, engage not only for like national politics, but local politics as well. Local politics, so important. But unfortunately, there is so much political, disengagement with local politics. It is shocking. If you really want to look at like engagement numbers for local politics, it is bad. Last time in May, the turnout rate was 30%. That's not good. Last time we had a local election here, we were 25%. That was not good. And nationally, I think that year, again, we were the outlier on 25. That was 28%, I believe it was, for that nationally. So, yeah, turnout for local elections, not good. That's why you see people literally elected on like couple of hundreds of votes, and then you look at potential people that could have voted and it's like in the thousands. You're like, well, where were the rest of those people that didn't vote? Oh, that's right, they don't bother to vote because people do not see the importance of local councillors, which is a huge shame. And at least I hope this year I've at least brought some attention to some people about how important your local council actually is and how much of a change like councillors can actually bring to your area. So that's at least I hope I've managed to do that to some people and raise that with them.
If you want to come along and see it working, it works. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rolfe. Councillor Curtis, please.
Thanks, Chair. Very pleased to hear that Councillor Rolfe has found the 20-mile-an-hour advisory so successful because 2 of my village schools in Ettington and Loxley are pressing for those at the moment. Just picking up Councillor Edwards' point about reviewing the current criteria, and also I'm encouraged by Councillor Holland, who seems to have been able to get so many 20-mile-an-hour advisories. The advice I've had so far from officers about 20-mile-an-hour zones rather than advisories seems quite Kafkaesque. So it feels a bit like Groundhog Day. I'm back to Ettington and the speeding in the village there and the association with the crossroads, which we heard the petition speak of earlier on. The advice I've been given so far from officers is that they will only consider a 20-mile-an-hour zone if...
Yeah, very true as well. We've already had a bit of talk about this earlier, but it's worth going over again. Yeah, all these reform councils are doing a 5% council tax rise, except, of course, in Worcestershire, where they are applying for special measures for it to be 10%. So I do think you are right. I do think in some of these areas, it will get people out. I do wonder if there will be a anti-reform bump in some of these elections. I hope so. I honestly do hope so. in some of these elections, because you do not want, quite frankly, these people in charge. You know, look at Kent, look at Warwickshire, look at, Staffordshire, Lancashire, all these places where they took over and are in charge. It's not really gone well. And even in places where they're not in charge, where like the main party of opposition, which again, having a party of opposition, also pretty important for democracy. Cornwall, the party pretty much fell apart. Literally, almost in less than a week. Party fallen to pieces. Doncaster, they're fighting like cats and dogs at the moment over there. To a point where, and we'll probably do a video about this tomorrow, they actually have welcomed back a guy that they kicked out because they've lost 2 councillors recently. And at some of these councils where they are in a minority administration, every single council they have counts. So here you have an example of a guy who got kicked out. We'll talk about more of this tomorrow. A guy who they kicked out, like got rid of him, like you're no longer a member of Reform, you're no longer a member of the Reform group. Kicked out. Oh, 2 councillors are left. Oh, we need you back in here. We need you back in here. Mostly because one of them left for Advance UK. The other quote other Reform party. And then the other one has remained as a councillor, but he's left Reform, so he's an independent now. So yeah, fun times in Doncaster. I have no doubt that fun and games will continue. By the sounds of it, it is continuing. But anyway, back to this.
If the traffic is only travelling at between 23 and 24 miles an hour. Now, that seems rather Kafkaesque, because as I pointed out, if traffic is only going at 23 to 24 miles an hour, the introduction of a 20 mile an hour zone is barely necessary. And just specifically with Ettington, although I understand that the 20 mile an hour advisory outside the schools may be a more pragmatic approach, for Ettington, we have the particular problem of customers from the caffeine and machine. And this is not the criticism of the management of the caffeine machine at all, who I think do their very best to try to encourage their guests to be responsible drivers. But in Ettington, we have a real problem of speeding, not so much during school times, but at weekends and evenings when those less responsible customers from the caffeine machine come out and are driving through the village at speeds up to 50 and even 60 miles an hour, which is insane. So, Councillor Holland, I'd like to take your advice and find out how I can press for more effective 20 mile an hour zones. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Curtis. Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's been a weird day, hasn't it? We've had Reform voting for a cycle lane. We've had them voting against cycle lanes more generally. And now we're in this weird position where we had a motion that was brought forward by a Green Party councillor that was supposed to be seconded by a councillor from the Reform backbenches, which is now being instead seconded by a councillor from the Lib Dems. We had an amendment to that motion, which Councillor Scott has accepted as friendly, which is supposed to be proposed by the Conservative group, proposer and seconder. And now the seconder is Councillor Finch, the leader. I am very confused. I don't know what's going on in your group.
Yeah, this is something else we're seeing, confusion. Reform are against something one day and then they're voting for something else the next day. So honestly, very, very good to actually, call them out that why you were so against them, this type of stuff, literally last month, but now you've completely changed your mind and you're now voting for us. Not only just voting for us, but you are seconding motions. What's going on there? Very clearly, there's more chaos going on in these Reform administrations. I think is being shown. I think
I've heard a rumour that you're going to sack anyone who votes for this motion, but now you're seconding the amendment to the motion. So who knows what's happening at this point? But all I can say is that this motion is
he's gonna wait. There was a rumour that he was going to sack anyone who voted for this motion. Okay. That just goes to prove my point, just how bad it is on these.
A really positive one for Warwickshire, because it's about time that we took children's safety seriously. And I do wish the leader would pay attention to that point, because children's safety has been something that I put on the record when we talked about the cycling item earlier on, that children are the ones who are going to be able to benefit the most from some of the funding from Active Travel England that we get for free. But here we are. We're going to talk about the letter that he sent to the Education Minister in a second as well. But I am so unsure what's going on over there in your shoes, in your cabinet, but we need to make sure that this motion gets through, because prioritising the safety of children with 20-mile-an-hour zones and making sure that it comes from sources of funding which are from developers and don't come at a cost to the taxpayer is really, really important. It's what we're here for. It's the exact type of principle that we need to set and stand by. This motion is about setting the goalposts so that we can aim for them in the future. And we can do that as a council if we pile our resources and our brainwaves together. So I fully endorse this motion and I will support the amendment. And I thank all of those who are proposing and seconding for doing so. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. And we have Councillor McAllister, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I also wanted to recognise that some action is already happening on the ground on this, and so I welcome this motion. In my division, thanks to my predecessor, I'm using my delegated budget to fund advisory flashing 20 miles per hour signs outside North Leamington School, and also to fund a feasibility study of having the same sort of advisory signs outside both a secondary school and a primary school, which are opposite each other. So I just wanted to mention that, and also welcome what Councillor Rolfe said. That sounds like they are the thing that helps. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McAllister. I have Councillor Kettle, Councillor Crump and Councillor Dixon, and we'll draw a line there, if we can, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I absolutely support this motion as amended. I would just draw 2 points. One is making generalisms about it is Department of Transport policy. I would very much like Councillor Holland at some stage to point out exactly where it says that there is policy within built-up areas should be 20 miles an hour, because I can't find it. And I'm sure he can, so he'll help me with that. But going on to Councillor Curtis's point, and I think this goes back to what I've just said to Councillor Holland, is guidance on the DOT website, paragraph 102 of many, many pages, so I won't tell you exactly where it is, Councillor Curtis. The implementation of 20-mile-an-hour limits over a large number of roads should be considered where mean speeds are at or below 24 miles an hour. So it's not a local officer decision, it is a national decision. And therefore, I think that does throw doubt on the idea that this is a policy that should be laid out everywhere, because the DOT or DFT is actually saying only on those speed, the roads where there is a low speed already. But I was just confirming where officers come from, but it would be nice to know where it says it's policy.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kettle. Councillor Crump, please.
Oh, did they forget to turn his mic on? Yeah,
I'll use this one.
Oh, no.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Barker. Yeah, a couple of things about this. I've got a school safety zone outside St Mary's School in Southam, and it works really well. It also reminds me of the one in Radford Road. So whoever had the one in Radford Road in Leamington, going past the old Warnford, great, well done, Councillor Roberts. And why I think that works is because it works at certain times. And residents are accepting not of a blanket speed limit at certain times. And I think Councillor Edwards sort of touched on that as well. And I think it's important that if residents understand that between 8 and 9 and between 3 and 4, within 10 minutes outside, that there are going to be young people, school children, parents, etc., they can accept that really that 20 mile an hour is appropriate in that area. At other times, they might not be so forgiving or understanding, and therefore they wouldn't perhaps adhere to those rules as they normally would. So I think we need to be subtle about this. Secondly, we need to be joined up about this, because there are always unintended consequences of putting in traffic calming. Because sometimes people go down a different route to avoid the traffic calming and then create an issue elsewhere. So that's things, again, we need to consider. Again, that's no reason why we shouldn't be doing this, but we do need to consider these unintended consequences. Thirdly, again, talking about joined up thinking, I've got a zebra crossing in Welsh Road, West Southam, that serves the local primary school.
Skipping forward.
It made sense that we would therefore then back that an amendment, which now is a substantive motion. But what I've heard over the course of this debate is about fiscal responsibility, and that there's not it's not a one-size-fits-all policy. And that's what this amendment does great at showing us, is that each school is different, each area is different, and we can't just blanket the whole thing with a one-size-fits-all policy. That's how a lot of things don't work, and how we feel that a lot of residents don't like those type of things. But yes, it's the most important thing for us as an administration is that the next few months is that budget setting process over December, January and February time. And something as big as this, look, we worked with the officers over the last few days on this motion, and the figures that they gave us were quite shocking. It grew to about £50 million is what the money and the financial implications that the officers gave us with regards to this motion, which is why this amendment really makes sure that we can start making a targeted approach on things like this. And as a group, look, we're not against making children not feel safe walking to and from school and things like that, and crossing at schools. That's what we're here to do. So we can laugh all we like, but what's more important is about those children and making sure that they are feeling safe. And that's what we're here to do, working cross-party. That's exactly what we're doing. So I'm happy to second this, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Finch. Councillor Norris, sorry, please, if you'd like to sum up and move the motion.
Yeah, it's my turn. I'm very happy to second this motion. I have to say, when I first saw the motion, I was surprised to see it being proposed by the Greens and seconded by Reform. But to be fair, the leader has often said, work with us, work together. Absolutely. So I thought, great, well, finally, it's going to happen. We're going to have some cross-party working on a very important proposal. But alas, for whatever reason, and we can speculate, it hasn't happened. And I'm very happy to step in and second instead. Road safety is a constant problem for our schools. In my division, I hear
there's
many
more
concerns
of
for the safety of school.
story behind that. Maybe we'll get more of a story behind that, why that didn't happen. Oh, what's this? George Finch is against 20-mile-an-hour limits. I've seen his Twitter. Not a surprise. Doesn't surprise me, to be honest. This has been something that Reform have complained against numerous times on this.
Make to close schools, as they are in our local division, will only make these problems worse. Because
skipping ahead,
I've heard a lot of detail from the head of Ulster Academy in my division that the traffic issues, and they're so bad that members of the SLT for that school have to act as road wardens at the beginning and end of the day to ensure the safety of their students.
And a lot of the questions and the concerns. And I think fundamentally, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this motion to everyone today was because Councillor Cameron came and spoke to me a few months ago, and we knew it was a really important topic for all of our residents across the county. And this motion isn't about us spending loads of money going forward. It's about getting more clarity on what we can and can't do. It's about giving us some more freedom in our delegated budgets to be able to implement these things if we wish to do so. But fundamentally, it is about protecting our children in accessing their educational rights.
And we're going to move to the vote as amended. So those in favour?
Oh, let's see if it passes.
Those against? Any abstentions? Again, that motion is passed. Thank you.
Well,
Carried.
so that motion passed.
Right, we're moving on now to the next motion, number 2, protecting children's access to education by opposing any extension to statutory walking distances. And I'm going to invite Councillor Mateski to move the motion, please.
Thank you. Chairman, members, today I'm bringing forward this motion to defend the rights of children and families across Warwickshire.
This is where it could get interesting, because this came up a couple of months ago about this, I believe. Finch wants to basically force more kids of a very younger age to walk a lot longer distance to schools, which again is not good for their safety, considering the fact apparently he's just done a big speech about how important again safety is for their kids, but he now wants to make kids walk further to school, potentially along roads that aren't actually safe for them to walk along, which again has not been a good look. So we'll see. This might actually get quite interesting as well.
School transport. Let's start with a letter sent by the leader of this council, Councillor George Finch, to the Secretary of State for Education. A letter which is not only misguided, but also very telling. It shows us how Reform UK imagines reducing waste, and that's by shifting burdens onto families and cutting corners on child welfare. And here's what's truly amazing. Councillor Finch is not only the leader of this council, he's also the portfolio holder for children and young families. So let that sink in. The person responsible for championing the interests of children and families is the same person proposing to make their lives harder, more stressful, and potentially putting their safety at risk. This is not just a contradiction, it's a complete failure of priorities.
Yeah, and given how, again, he was apparently so much in favour of children's safety just moments before this, I wonder how he's going to change his mind on this now.
Requesting powers to extend statutory walking distances for children without consultation or evidence is not just tone deaf, it's reckless. It's making policy making by post, and it ignores the realities faced by parents every single day. Now let me paint a picture, and I'm sorry, Councillor Condor, I don't have any props. Imagine a parent whose child attends a school nearly 5 miles away. Under the proposal implied by Councillor Finch's letter, that 8-year-old child will be expected to walk 10 miles a day, 5 days a week, just to attend school. And unless that parent is comfortable sending their child along rural roads, they'll be walking it too. That's a 10-mile round trip for the parent, the equivalent of walking from Shire Hall to Coventry city centre twice a day, possibly with a younger child in tow. That's 6 hours of walking, rain or shine, every day, along roads that may lack pavements and lighting. It's not just in fact.
Yeah, you see why this is like kind of important. That's 6 hours a day. I saw a lot of people saying, well, they can walk to school. No. The distances they are being involved here are quite far, because just of the road layout, especially when it comes to some of these rural areas. 6 hours a day. And you're asking a child maybe as young as 8 to maybe do that by themselves? Are you a parent prepared to say to your child, walk to school today? By the way, it's going to take you 3 hours to get. Don't think so. Don't think too many parents are going to be thrilled with that.
It's unreasonable. And it's certainly not a vision of public service most families would recognise. Now let's talk about the numbers, because this proposal is not only impractical, it is fundamentally flawed and misleading. The letter claims that increasing the walking distance by 2 miles would reduce the number of children entitled to free school transport by 16%. While that figure may sound impressive, it does not equate to a 16% reduction in overall home-to-school transport. In reality, the saving would be closer to 6.1%.
What? Reform? Getting numbers wrong about the savings? Imagine my shock.
And here's why. Of the £52 million currently being spent on home-to-school transport, £32 million is for children with SEND, with only £20 million for mainstream education transport. A 16% reduction in mainstream costs equates to just £3.2 million, which is only 6.1% of the total budget. And here's the real crisis. Mainstream transport costs have been fairly stable for the last few years at around £20 million a year. The real pressure is in SEND provision, which has exploded, up over 50% in just 2 years, from 21 million to 32 million. Yet when questioned on BBC CWR, Councillor Finch insisted that SEND provision would be protected. That statement, combined with the admission at Overview and Scrutiny Committee by the portfolio holder for Transport and Planning that she was implicit in the writing of the letter, but she was unaware of how much the SEND element contributed to the total budget, proves one thing. This administration does not understand where the real problem lies. And if you don't understand the problem, you can't fix it. This is not about walking distances. It's about tackling spiralling SEND transport costs, the real driver of this budget crisis. Anything else is a distraction. This council must be clear. We do not support this kind of policy making. We support evidence, consultation, and above all, the well-being of all our children. That's why this motion matters.
Yeah, again, this is being pulled out of a hat. This is another reason why you do not want these reform people in charge. They have shown on a very number of occasions, not only just here in Warwickshire but elsewhere, they'll just go, yeah, we'll do this policy. It sounds good. Yeah, just because it sounds good does not actually make it good policy, you know. And this is just one very clear example. It's not that long ago George Finch had to walk to school uphill both ways. Oh no.
Reaffirms our commitment to safeguarding access to education and reassures families that we will not pursue changes to the current walking distances set out by local government. And while we're on the subject of walking, I have a question for the leader. Councillor Finch, are you prepared to set an example and travel from the north of the county to, say, Coventry railway station, because you often catch the train, or if you get a lift, maybe you could be parked up at Coventry railway station, and then walk the rest of the journey to Shire Hall, a distance of around 10 miles? Because that is what you are asking parents, and possibly older persons such as grandparents and carers, to do. If walking long distances is such a sound policy for others, surely the leadership should lead the way. In fact, I have a suggestion. We make it a photo opportunity. Councillor Finch leading the way, with his high-vis jacket on, packed lunch and shoes in his rucksack, and maybe even wearing a pair of wellies if it's raining. After all, if it's good enough for an 18-year-old, it should be good enough for the leader of this council. Let's send a message, not just to the Secretary of State, but to our own leadership, that Warwickshire stands for fairness, safety and common sense. I urge all members to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mateski. Do we have a seconder?
I will second that and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Warwick. Do we have any amendments on this one? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you as well, Councillor Mateski, for that wonderful mental image of Councillor Finch in his wellies and rucksack. Yes, I regret that this amendment doesn't include a provision to ask Councillor Finch to walk 5 miles so that he can see for himself what his letter would result in if he actually got his way. But unfortunately, I have to keep it on serious topics, which include the cost of providing this service and recognising the expense of the service, which is something that I did in the the Overview and Scrutiny meeting for children and young people last month, which Councillor Finch responded that we were all brushing it under the rug. And what I would hate to have happen with this motion is to successfully have Councillor Finch have to retract this question whilst launching a tirade of abuse that we are trying to kick it under the rug and get rid of it, which is what he did in that meeting. So I think it's really important that we recognise that the expense that this council is currently suffering in the region of £50 million is unsustainable and is one of the biggest financial pressures on this council. And to do that, I've included the amendment to the to the recognition section to underscore that very point. And I think it's important because there was, actually, while I move on to the second suggestion of my amendment, which is to establish a cross-party working group, which will report to Cabinet in September 2026, with aims to include identifying the key drivers of the growing costs, identify priority opportunities to improve and reduce the cost of providing the service, incorporating cost-benefit analysis of potential investments, and hear from users to help ensure that the working group understands the potential disruption caused to families as a result of any efficiencies or changes they may recommend. And I've made these suggestions, these proposals, this amendment, excuse me, found the word, for some key reasons. There was, as Councillor Matevsky has informed me previously, there was a working group that was formed in 2023 to look at this issue of the rising costs. But the rising costs from 2023 are different to the ones today, and the results of that working group have resulted in the consultation, which is currently live with the public, which is absolutely good work, but there's been an awful lot of turnaround in this chamber since that time, and it's important that every single councillor has the opportunity to have their party's view input into this system so that any changes that can be proposed and brought to the Cabinet can be brought with these new ideas and
okay, so we know what it is, basically working group.
So the new ideas can be brought by multiple councillors.
But again, a few councillors £1 to £50 million under his watch.
Councillor Finch, please.
Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it was quite a shock, really, to see that.
Let's see what he's got absolutely nothing to say in this regard once again.
The former portfolio holder for transport and planning put this motion forward when he was complicit in allowing the homeschool transport bill to get from £17 million to £50 million under his watch.
Okay, blame the previous administration, but here's the thing: you are in charge now. So what are you going to do about it?
I never thought I would say this, but it's obvious that these children who have got SEND needs and disabilities and have come from the most deprived areas would always get homeschool transport. And I never said that they would not get that. But again, this administration is trying to fix the problems that the Conservative Party created in this council. Yet when we try to do something, they sit there and put motions like this, and he even said it himself, that this motion is not about trying to fix homeschool transport. So what is this about, Councillor Mateki? Playing politics? I don't know.
No, it's about the fact that you wrote a letter to the Secretary of State saying you wanted to take away transport for kids. I find that to be quite the lie that Finch is trying to say there, that he wasn't going to take away their transport. But that's exactly what he was implying in his letter.
You're agreeing more with the Lib Dems, why don't you just join them? But the point is, but all these jokes that he was making before about me and me rucksack, I thought that was Andy Crump that was meant to be making those jokes. I don't know. Again, is he stealing someone's job? I don't know. But he's not doing a very good job at it, like when he was portfolio holder for transport and planning. But again, a few councillors have said that these letters have caused upset with the general public. But there and then, the letter does not state that it will do the things you've been saying. And Councillor Edwards, is it? Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Again, it's opposition councillors that are spreading this misinformation on these issues. You are not telling them the truth.
It's not, though. It's there in black and white. You were saying it yourself. You wanted to take it away.
You're getting confused between the consultation and the letter. The letter clearly states that we are not, as an administration, going to increase the statutory walking distance to 5 miles. It doesn't do that. But what I am suggesting is if we, as local...
But that's what you wanted to do. That's what you said in the letter. What?
Taxpayers have to pay £50 million a year towards the home to school transport bill, then why do we not get the full power of how to solve the problem? Again, this is sticking plaster policies. It's most...
And your proposal was to make those kids walk those distances if you got that power. Well, certainly the attack of forgetfulness here on that one.
Motion will not address the issue. This motion that you'll all be supporting, no doubt, is political. It's a personal vendetta. It will not solve this issue. And again, it is brushing this matter under the rug. You're playing political football with the most dependent, the children that need the most support in life, children with SEND and in the most deprived areas. But it goes to that point that we are here as councillors to support those.
But you are not helping them in this regard. You have proposed a motion that would take away transport provision of what you wanted to do.
Children, but
this is why they are proposing this motion. Yeah, if Councillor Finch was actually, telling the truth, all he would do is he would go, "Here is my letter. Here is what I would said," by reading it out, and then ask the councillor for an apology if he was telling the truth. But he is not telling the truth. And I would have hoped maybe someone from the opposition, one of these parties, would have had his letter that you could just print out and just highlight the sections where he said that, and even have a copy ready to give to him so he could remind him what he wrote just literally a couple of months ago.
Motions like this, trying to stop or trying to put barriers up working groups, more bureaucracy in the way of the governing council, the administration, to do the job that
working groups aren't more democracy, aren't like more bureaucracy. That is more democracy, because having a working group is a good thing. There's a lot of these people in these reform administrations that are just anti local government. They're anti-government completely. They are very, very authoritarian. As far as they are concerned, the leader says something, it should be done. That's not how our democracy works. There are constant checks and balances. This is why you have officers. This is why you have reports, consultations. You look into what you are doing to see if what you're going to do is value for money. This is why you have those types of things. And it is very, very telling that once again, these reform groups, these reform people are in favor of this type of stuff sometimes when it's stuff they want to do. But anything else for anyone else, oh no, can't have a working group. That's just extra bureaucracy.
that the electorate have asked us to do. In the consultation for the budget, again, it states that people do want to see a reduction in home to school transport, and we are doing exactly that. We are a party that are in favour of Alarm Clock Britain, and we are there helping those residents, those families, and that is what we're there to do. But parental responsibility is the main point in this, and that's exactly what we're saying. A few years ago, it was £17 million.
Parental responsibility. Remember that word. That is the buzzword that Reform are using to attack this send stuff, this transport stuff. Oh, it should be parental responsibility. Gee, I wonder who we got that from when this was only said a month, 2 months ago by one, of course, Nigel Farage, when he talked about this. I wonder where he got that from.
It is now 50 million and it will increase. Do you think that that is okay? Because if you're going to vote for this motion, then you are again being complacent in this, therefore complicit in the massive spending that is going on with home to school transport. You will bankrupt this council by doing things like that. And this administration is the only party that is fiscally responsible. And
no, they won't bankrupt it. Because when you have a look at the reason why these are all perfectly reasonable. One of the things that Finch is insinuating here with this is that parents are applying for this provision when they don't need it. You know, they're just abdicating their responsibility. But then if they're applying for it, what processes are they going for to get that provision? How are they actually? Again, he doesn't understand his own council, how it works, how all this stuff works. Instead, it is absolute rhetoric we are seeing here.
And not putting massive spending back onto the council. We have to speak to residents on this, and they've listened and they've said to us that this is the right thing to do. So if you vote for this motion, you will be damning this council for another huge spending spree on home school transport that this administration is trying to get under control. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Finch. We are drawing a line there underneath the debate, and we shall be taking the next step, which is to invite the Councillor Scott to talk to us as a seconder.
Well, don't really know how to follow that. But, Councillor Finch, it didn't need to all be about you. It didn't need to be a personal vendetta. You could have, as you very sensibly suggested when I first met you in Children and Young Persons, could have had a discussion with us about other alternatives, about looking at the contracts for home to school transport, which was a really good idea. I don't understand why you didn't pursue it. And if you have pursued it, I've got no idea that you pursued it because you never mentioned it since to me in that committee meeting. So I'm afraid this is all about you and it is all about your actions. And I guess what
Consequences catching up to again. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Of course that was the case. You know, and once again, stuff like this does not get reported outside these council chambers, or at least very, very rarely it does.
What I'd really like to say is to follow up from Councillor Phelps' original statement. It isn't in my name. I'm not even sure it's in some of your fellow Reform councillors' names, if I'm honest. I think you are not thinking about the wider thing. Maybe you thought it was a good idea, but actually, I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has said. It's brought further uncertainty. It's made us look fools, I think. It's damaged our reputation. And I'm sad that I am somehow aligned to it without any say over it myself. So I'd like to thank Councillor Mateki and the Conservatives for bringing this motion forward. My personal view is still that we do need, if it's not necessarily a cross-working party group, but some sort of input into the experts in the room, like Children and Young Persons Committee. That is what we are there for. We aren't there just to pick holes. We are there to try and help you, to give you ideas, to talk through policies, to talk through strategy, to talk through ideas. But you take everything on your own shoulders. And for that, you can only take responsibility yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Councillor Warwick, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is where, both nationally and locally, other parties realise that being in charge ain't all that easy. Okay? So, both nationally and locally, lots of promises have been made that are not being delivered on. And let's not just go blaming the previous...
Oh, he is going to enjoy this. You can just tell he is going to enjoy this.
Administration, because that's easy. You've come in locally making promises, Labour have come in nationally making promises. And I think there's a hell of a lot of buyer's remorse out there at this moment in time. If you want to make savings, you should identify before you go to the electorate where you want to make them. I've got to be honest, George, I think this was an ill-advised letter, and I think you'll learn well from this today. I understand the pressures that you must be under. Nobody understands better than our group the pressures of having to balance the budget at this council. And as the previous items we've looked at today on budget and on the accounts and on the governance, external auditors have come back and said the Conservatives did a sterling job. We are in a position, though, where this has caused some or much concern among people. And I will say as well, while looking at the planning process that we're going through, that some of the local plans talking about building huge amounts of homes well away from urban areas will increase the pressures on home to school transport massively. And that is, again, other parties responsible for that. Unitary will stop that. That will bring the two pressures together. And as a single council will understand and be more sort of understanding of each other's pressures, will work as one. But this has caused upset. And we have done the work. Councillor Sinclair, when he was here, had a working party. We've gone out to consultation. That is why, as Conservatives, we really don't want to be duplicating that. And we're at the point of consultation with the public. What we want to say, and I think the Liberals are saying the same, just a very clear no. This isn't the way to go forward. We can't support this. Yes, we understand you have got huge budgetary pressures, but what we're looking at here is the delivering of statutory duties. You should have understood that before you came into power. You certainly will be understanding it now. And as I say, next year it'll be interesting where we go with the budget, but this is not the area to be making cuts. This is not the sort of proposal.
Oh, he's enjoying this very much so. You can tell in his voice. Because, yeah, he is right. This is, they've made promises that we're going to make cuts, but okay, where are you going to make cuts? A lot of people are suddenly finding out especially up in Lancashire, what you're tearing down these care homes. You can't do that. You can't do that. Again, not a good look when, reform's kicking your granny out to the curb, is it?
To bring forward. And I hope you think very, very carefully before a letter like this goes out again, because we've done this as a group to say one thing: no, we can't support this. We don't want this. And, we're going to stand in the way of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Warwick. Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Finch, for making it so clear why my amendment is so necessary to this proposal, because it demonstrates that we are actually trying to work constructively to bring a solution that is a bit more intelligently thought through than the one that Councillor Finch put on the table without anybody else's consent. Now, look, some people live rurally. They live on farms. They live in council houses because they don't have choice where they live. More importantly, everybody chooses where they live, if they do have a choice, based on the rules of the game at the time. And the rules of the game say that you live live more than 3 miles away, you get home school transport. That's a legal threshold, and we can't change that. In fact, it is the law. So if we were to not do that, we would be in breach of the law. And I do hope that Councillor Finch takes that under advice to make sure that we are not in breach of the law when we consider any actions that we do take. Now, Reform councillors
Wow, they've got
in this
a
debate,
lot
which
on
has
this
been a very
section.
insightful debate, I must say, have said that there is parental responsibility here. And I agree. Of course I agree. But our job, our responsibility as a council, we're not a private business who only has an interest in the money. We're a council. And so our business, our job, is to enable parents to make responsible decisions, to enable them to take on that parental responsibility. That is our role. And I also think that our role, our job, is to protect children in Warwickshire. We also have a role to reduce congestion. And I see so many conflicting ideas with this proposal that are going to result in huge issues with those responsibilities that we have. Now, we run a service which helps reskill people so that they can get into a job when they do drop out of school. Are you going to fund that when people inevitably, when children inevitably drop out of school as a result of the implementation of a policy like this? All I'm good saying parents have to take responsibility. What happens if they don't? That's our job. That is our job.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a fair point.
It's a bit like a game of Risk, which is an analogy, so I hear. Because you have to think about where the funding is going to go and what's going to happen as a result if we put funding here or there. Now, I consulted other parties to ask if Councillor Finch put on record that he was working with other groups, because he's given us our idea. And he said in the Review and Scrutiny Committee that he was working with all other councillors, all other parties. So I asked. No one gave me a positive response. Nobody. So all I can tell is he didn't work with anybody except for your own group, if that's even the case. I mean, Councillor Warren was in a meeting and said, I'm going to say yes to, did he consult me on the letter? It's not exactly reassuring. So obviously this proposal should have gone through us before it went out to the national government. That's really disappointing that it didn't, but we're here now. And I took this one on. I walked 5 miles. I gave it a go. And it was difficult. And I genuinely don't think anyone who is 8 years old and up could do this consistently. It's 50 miles a week. It's almost 2 marathons if they're in that position. It's horrendous. So we've heard today, earlier on, from Councillor Bannister, that it's important to solve things over a handshake and an apology. But we've had no apology. And Councillor Finch doesn't work with anyone else in the chamber. So I don't really see how we're going to get a handshake out of him either. And I appreciate what he says about the councillors here possibly shoving it under the rug and not offering a solution of their own, but that's why my amendment is so important. It is vital that we, as a council, come together and unite. And I will give Councillor Mateki to change his mind still at the last moment, considering how Councillor Finch made his statement to accept the motion as friendly, because I don't need to take credit for this. If I'm happy to pioneer a way for all of us to work together to come up with a positive alternative, instead of just complaining, even when the idea is horrendous, then I'm glad I can play my part in that. And that's what my motion does. And that's why I think it's so important that we actually do, as a council, prove that when his time is up, that we have the capability to work together and come up with a solution to a genuine problem, an alternative, a positive alternative that is better than what they are providing, this negative. So I'm going to end off with this. I asked 7,000 people whether or not the leader had lost his marbles. 98% said yes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. I'm going to go to Councillor Mateki now, please.
Tell you what, we'll jump to the end
Thank you for the
now.
discussion on this.
I think that
I'd like to just point out a
the
few things.
consensus is
Councillor
pretty
Cocker,
clear.
you
They
obviously haven't
aren't,
read the letter. I think everything you said has got nothing to do with the letter in there at all. And I'd like to thank all members who have spoken,
happy
including
with this. Let's
Councillor
see if it
Jones and Councillor
passes,
Scotland
though.
in your amendment. I know it's well intended, but I think this shows that pretty much that we're all is my first and primary job in this council. Absolutely mortified by that letter.
Which we'll accept as friendly, and that will cut the discussion down a bit, and we can all go home a little bit earlier, really. Actually, you could just stop my 10 pages of a speech and just move straight to the vote. Forwards. We already know that children who grow up in poverty face poorer health, lower educational attainment, fewer opportunities later in life, and this harms them. It cannot fix everything, but neither can we look away and say it's someone else's problem. That means we also have the responsibility to act. But our health partner, which is coordinating our efforts and pooling our insights. Third, we're calling for it requires empathy, and yes, it requires political will. We are a political chamber, and we can show that will. None of us want to live in a county where a child's future is determined by the circumstances of their birth. None of us want to explain to the next generation why we saw hardship rising and chose to do nothing. Today, we have the opportunity to choose differently, to set Warwickshire on a path towards fairness, dignity, and send and the other items. You may recall a book, or you may know an author called Charles Dickens.
Councillor Mateki. Councillor Woodhouse, is this amendment friendly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following a bit of ping pong yesterday, over the last couple of days, trying to get this sorted before we actually got to the meeting.
Have I missed that? I must have missed
this. So we'll accept as friendly, and that will cut the discussion down a bit, and we can all go home a little bit earlier, really. Actually, you could just stop my 10 pages of a speech and just move straight to the vote.
We do need to go those procedural steps, but yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the motion is clear and it's
absolutely mortified by that letter, and it's only right that we, as elected members.
And now on to the motion itself. Those in favour? Those against? Abstentions? And that has passed.
Oh, so it passed. Oh, that's probably put
It's 23. And everybody else.
A problem in his plans there for that. That's for certain.
So that one has passed.
So anyway, I'm interested now what this last one was, the exclusion of press and public. So let's go straight to this because I'm interested in this one. Oh, hang on.
And
The subject of the motion is so important and is not about party politics, and I just want to make that clear.
No.
So,
Oh no, hang on.
And
oh no, is it not?
do you agree with the statement and the exclusion of press and public for the following matter?
Okay. There must
Councillors, to be clear, there is no provision for a debate on item 15. It's simply to ask council to agree with the statement. There is no such provision to not agree. It has been published on the agenda as an exempt item, and this is simply a procedural matter to exclude the press and the public. That is all.
What are they excluding
Right,
them for?
I think we can move to the vote at this point on the friendly amendment. Those in favour? Those against? And that's accepted. Any abstention? Sorry, one abstention. Well, I'm not saying anything. No. So the motion as amended has passed.
I'm guessing that must be that last motion, but I'm
We're moving on
interested
then from that motion into the. We are skipping the member question time, so we're not skipping it as in not replying to questions, but written responses will be given. We are moving on to the next item in the list, which is exclusions of press and public for reserved matters. And
okay.
We have to consider passing a resolution at this stage that members of the public be excluded from the meeting for the items mentioned in section 15 on the grounds that their presence would involve the disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of Schedule 12A of Part 1 of the Local Government Act 1972.
Okay. So
I asked the council if you would agree. Yeah.
I'll speak on this briefly, Chair.
There's no provision for speaking at this point, I'm sorry to say. But we thank the members of the public for attending, and they have and invite them to leave if they haven't already done so. I'm afraid there's no point of order on this particular point. Sorry? Yes. Oh, yes. All I need now is to ask the council's approval for the exclusion. Everyone in favour? Yes.
Okay, so it looks like at the end here they have not done.
Do you agree with the statement and the exclusion of press and public for the following matter?
Councillors, to be clear, there is no provision for a debate on item 15. It's simply to ask council to agree with the statement.
Someone's speaking, but you can't hear what they're saying.
There is no such provision to not agree. It has been published on the agenda as an exempt item, and this is simply a procedural matter to exclude the press and the public. That is all.
Straightforward for and against, isn't it? There's no vote. There's no vote required. So essentially, we're asking the press and the public if they wouldn't mind leaving at this point. Thank you very much.
And that's it. That's your lot. That was your Warwickshire Council meeting. So, yeah, seemed to get pretty heated. Obviously, laying into Finch for his letter that he sent to obviously the Secretary of State, seemed to have a momentary attack of forgetfulness, forgetting what he had written and said to the Secretary of State. But it is a matter of public record. It was published in the newspaper at the time. Bizarre that you would of course go and forget randomly what you've even said to the Secretary of State for Transport at the time, or Secretary of State for Education at the time. Yeah, kind of bizarre on that one. So yeah, that was an interesting meeting. Apparently there was some interesting stuff going on down in Kent as well, but It is 8:15, and we have been going almost 3 hours at this point. But I do want to thank you very, very much for everyone who has joined us this evening, or you've dipped in, you've come back and dipped out, etc. Thank you very much for everyone for joining us this evening. Have a very happy Christmas, of course. If we do not see you before, we do have, of course, plenty more of Reform Chaos to cover, because, as I said maybe before, just because they, it was their last full day of council business on Friday, does not mean it stopped. There is plenty of stuff to cover on this front. We've also got at some point to record. I will be recording the review of the year at some point as well, so I've got that to do as well. But as always, thank you very much for everyone for watching. Please do remember to click the like and share button on your way out. Don't forget to ring the bell if you are subscribed, so you get notifications when we go live, when we do something like this again. As of course, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.